Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the Goodest cast. We got Angry Earl on this episode. Angry Earl's an OG from the Pacific Northwest. First met him at Sonoma Drift when I first started drifting. I didn't know he was an OG. He was there and he had a crazy truck FC and I was like, this guy's wild. He's always had like a wild style, very interesting dude, Rotary guy. You know, Rotary guys, man, they're interesting. That premix, gets them in the zone. But yeah, Earl definitely was profound on this one, and we like talked about some psychology of drifting, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it, so I hope you guys do too. Check it out. Flock MFG, the original Goodest cast sponsor, is back. They're back. They're making enamel pins. They can't make shoe charms anymore because the shoe company told them they can't. Legally came after them, which is, that's a thing. If you want to do that, it's kind of shitty, but whatever. They're not dead though. They're making pins. They got this sick Fukuda 180 pin. They're making like a S chassis street style one. They're making an E36 one. So check them out. They've always supported the Goodest cast. Support them. Yeah. Tire streets, Acceleras 651s. I run them, the boys run them. What else do you need to know? Seems like everyone's running them now. If you want a discount, you want to try them out, Goodest 651, 20% off. Get yourself some tires, get yourself some sticky, icky boys. Pull up on them, doing wheelies off the line, three-wheel motion, take a sip of the potion. Just use the discount code and try the tires. They're great. Dude, sick background.
Oh, thanks, man.
Way cool. It's way cooler than mine. I didn't even think about that.
Nice place, dude. No, I don't know. I set this up for, I don't know, like video commentary, but I never got around to it yet.
Were you going to do like video commentary on like other driving or?
Just video, dude. Like, just like old school like drift videos that not a lot of people know about, but also my driving, I don't know, just I'll eventually get around to it, but I've just been so super busy.
That'd be sick. Yeah. You've been doing a lot of driving.
Yeah, like I actually took a break just like these last couple of months, but yeah, I actually just bought a house, so it was either do it. Thank you. It was either now or never. I'm just like, I'm like, I got so many things like going on right now. I'm just like, I really want to do this, and I don't know how, like, when I would be able to do it once I actually move, So I'm just like, all right, let's get this done. So
sick, man. Well,
thanks.
I appreciate you giving me your time, and I'm sure everyone else does.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So I first met you at Sonoma Drift. And I didn't realize that you were had been drifting like a super long time, and you were like one of the OGs from like the PNW and stuff. And then I found that out later, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Way before I even like really got into drifting, I saw your FC truck on the freeway.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
like down in NorCal.
Yeah, so it was it was when it was white.
Okay.
I remember seeing it. I was like, "That's the craziest fucking car I've ever seen in my entire life." Like
you're making me blush.
I was like, "That thing." I was like, "What?" It was like loud and just like I was like, it was just so. It was like passing through. I think I was on my way to work at like Circuit City or something.
Oh, for real?
I was like, I was like, I was like a teenager, like 16, 17.
Yeah.
So like I was just like I hadn't seen cars like that. Like I didn't know cars like that existed, and I was just like unbelievable. And then I saw you at Sonoma, and I was like, "Is that the same car? I think it's the same car. Like it's the same guy." And yeah, then I was on Tumblr, and I like saw a bunch of like old school shit of you like back in the day, and I was like, "Oh man, okay, this dude's like been around for a minute." So.
That was like the dawn of social media, right?
Yeah.
Like right when the internet was really taking off, like around I don't know. Well, I moved to NorCal in 2009, and I think
Okay.
my car was red then already. So I brought my FC down. I moved down to NorCal in like 2009. So yeah, Sonoma was sick. It was super convenient just because it was within 45 minutes of everybody. So
Yeah. It's weird how like memories are like always like a little different. Like I'm sure it was red and then I remember it as white for some reason, but
for sure, it's all good. No, dude. Like I don't know. Like people hit me up about my old cars and everything, and I don't know. It just seems like a almost like a different life. I'm just like, oh yeah, I remember that car. But
I showed somebody in I don't know if most people probably haven't seen it, but there's like a picture. There's like you had chains in the back of the like truck, the diamond plated truck bed to like hold your spares down.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But there's that like picture of the chick in the back with like the chains like wrapped around her.
yeah, yeah.
And I was I literally showed that picture to somebody the other day and I was like, I remember seeing this like on Tumblr when I was like just getting into drifting and I was like, whoa, that's
Terrible,
fucking
terrible role model. If that's like where kids see me initially, it's a great first impression, I guess. No, but it was actually a Golden Gardens meet in Seattle. I
Mhm.
think they might still be doing it. I don't know if it's still around. But yeah, the chains, I just use those to hold my my tires and my wheels in, and all my tools to keep from falling out. And then those two import models just were chilling, and I'm like, hey, kiss. No, kiss. No, it was good. It was good picks. I remember that vividly.
Um, so I don't know like a ton about like your history and like because I know you've been around since like the early days
Yeah.
and the PNW. Like, what was like, what was some of the influences? Like, what was it like? What were you getting into back then?
So this is where we go into my origin story. If I,
Yeah,
this is the
it's me
origin story
slyly
part.
bringing it up.
All right, cool. I am Angry Earl, and this is MTV True Life. I'm a street racer. No, I started drifting around 04, 05. Um, Back then, it was basically it was like the beginning of drifting really in the States, and the Pacific Northwest is kind of an awkward area where we're in like the corner of like the country. So we weren't really close to like the hub, like LA, where it really took off. So I don't know, it was a very small scene back then. And I came from like a skating and like street racing background. So eventually I fell into drifting that way. I don't know. I had this all written out. I had this all like planned and everything. Now I'm like blanking out. No,
That's
but
cool, man.
it's it's like you said, it's hard to like go back in time and think about where it all started. And I'm
Yeah,
trying not to overly romanticize it, but it's a
I
lot of
mean,
fun memories,
yeah. What was like? I mean, what was like what was the first time? I guess I assume that you saw drifting either like in person or like option video or one of the people there's only so many options when you discover drifting that early. Like
Yeah, there's a catalyst, right? Everyone
yeah,
gets into it different ways,
yeah,
and like obviously like when will affect like how you get into it, and then that will actually determine how you fall in love with it almost. But
yeah.
so I got into cars like super late. I wasn't really raised around cars at all. I didn't really care about getting cars until I was like 18, 19 years old. I was happy like a skating everywhere. And when I say skating, I mean like fruit booting, like rollerblading. But I'm just like, yeah, I lived a super simple life and took the bus everywhere, and money didn't matter, cars didn't matter. And then I think the first Fast and Furious came out, and I'm like, oh shit, this is tight. I was never really good at skating, and I feel like I wasn't talented at it, but it was a good entry point into like extreme culture and like
Yeah,
you
pushing
know,
yourself.
yeah, for sure. It laid the foundation for doing risky shit. Um, but the Fast and Furious came out, and that was really like the catalyst of like how I got into cars. I didn't really give a shit about cars before then. I was like, oh, this is cool. But on top of like the skating progression aspect, there was a mechanical aspect to it. So I was like, huh, I'm not very good talent wise, the skill level wise, but there's a mechanical aspect that I can like level up. Um, so I got into it that way. So I was like skating in Everett, like one of the cities up in Washington up here, and I look up this basically like a body shop, like a street racing shop. It was called Body Tune at the time. This was like back in 04, 05. I didn't know what drifting was or anything.
Sick,
And then,
shaving door
yeah.
handles and stuff.
Yeah, dude. It was like shaved door handles, Civics, Integras, and stuff like that. But like I roll into the shop and I'm like, oh, this is cool. You guys build like race cars here? And then, no, but then there was this guy, he was like flat face down on like the cashier, and it was actually the guy that was eventually going to get me into drifting. His name's 15. He was like passed out on the counter. Yeah, I was like, hello. Yeah, he was just like sleeping on the countertop, and yeah, we hit it off right then and there. And apparently, he was like street drifting all night the night before.
Sick.
Yeah, I know, right? So I kind of got into it not through media and video, but like very it was very personal. Like I ran into this dude that was just passed out on the countertop. He was like street drifting the night before. But yeah, 15 was a Washington street legend back in the day. So yeah,
What year? Do you know what year this was? Like
this was around 2005. Yeah, 04, 05.
Okay.
So
Early.
Very early. Yeah, he was into like into street racing, like Hondas, like CRXs and shit like that. He's the type that like doesn't really do social media anymore, but like everyone back in the day knew of him. It was I don't know, he was a large in life figure, but he's very socially awkward and very reserved. But when it comes around cars and street racing, he's all about it.
Sick.
Have you seen the movie, the MTV True Life of a Street Racer? Like,
Yeah.
That show? He's like one of those, but for Washington State. He was like the Eugene of like Washington. So yeah, he got me to drifting that way. He invited me to go out streeting like after like a month of like hanging out and everything, and he had a FC Turbo 2, and that's really like my entry point into RX7s. Yeah,
that explains the rotary.
Yeah,
the rotary thing.
From the jump, it was tight. So
it's whatever. Yeah, it's like whatever your first experience is. That's like what it turns into. You know.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like when you're starting like an RPG video game and you pick your main. It's like, all right, I'm gonna pick that one, and that's what you stick with.
Like that's me now.
Yeah,
I'm a triangle guy. Till I die.
This will this will dictate the rest of my personality for the rest 2 decades.
Yeah, it's what Pokemon you pick in blue or red version.
Yeah, for sure.
Man. So yeah, I remember seeing some like kind of like OG, like kind of skate style videos.
Yeah.
You guys like doing some kind of stuff like out, and I think it was like some business park like back in the day, and I was like, oh shit, I saw that like after I had already known you, and I was like, oh okay, this is like pretty like you guys kind of had like the like street drift style, like car styling was like really aggressive and stuff. Like what was like how did that like come to be, or was that just kind of how it was up there?
Well, it's like from the very beginning, again, like pre 2010, drifting was so it was so small. It was like still growing, so there was not much. I don't know. It just wasn't around. You felt like you were part of something that was growing. But like when the very beginning, there was no track days. Like tracks didn't even open up until 2008, 2009. So there was a period of like 4 or 5 years where everyone just streeted. There was a slowly but surely there was a group of like autocross dudes that I don't think they're around anymore, but they slowly started opening up to drifting in Bremerton Motorsports Airport Park, BMP, Bremerton Motor Complex. But it was basically an airport strip, and they'd hold autocross events like every 2 months. So if you were drifting back then, like prior to 2010, if you wanted to go legit and not street drift, you'd have to wait like 2 months to basically try and get in with these autocrossers. And from the get-go, they were just, I wouldn't say they would take advantage of us, but we'd basically pay like a full days of entry fee and get to drive like an hour in their lunch time, when they were in autocrossing. That was the deal, So that was
you want somewhere to drift where you're not going to go to jail? Like,
yeah,
you're going to have to pay up.
Yeah, no, and we gladly did it. There was a group of like 15 to 20 of us that, I mean, we were, again, like came from like streeting. That was really the only form of drifting in Washington State back then. And we were like, okay, well, we're tired of getting tickets. We're tired of getting impounded. And yeah, like these torque steers was the name of the autocross people. And that's kind of where it grew from. And eventually it outgrew them, and then tracks started opening up. But yeah, like 15, like the dude that got me into drifting, he was him, Lucas with the red 8.6. They were really like the first people in Washington State that were street drifting, and I don't know.
Oh, I didn't know. Like, I know Lucas, but I didn't know he was like OG like that.
Dude, Lucas is OG. So if you want to get nerd about it and think of like drifting in generations, I would say I'm like a Gen 2. We're like in Gen 8 or 9 now. Like currently, we're currently like 2022. We're like Gen 9 or Gen 10. Yeah. But like Lucas is Gen 1, dude. He was around when there was nothing. He was around for the Big Bang of drifting.
Dang. All right.
He's old. But yeah, those guys, like, it's great that they give us a venue to start sliding like legally, but yeah, from the get-go, it was just, we were raw about it. We were just like, man, like, we know what's going on here. But around 06, 07, 08, tracks really started opening up, like Evergreen Speedway, the place that you guys sessioned recently.
Yeah, that was fun, man.
I was around when they first opened it to drifting. It was they didn't really know what the hell was going on, and I think they threw a comp like the first day. There was like competition. So like first day of drifting ever in Evergreen Speedway, and I think they threw a comp. I don't really know how. I don't remember how it went, but
they're like, they're like, we're gonna judge it, and
yeah, but they didn't really know what was going on either. It was just a hoot. It was a nice entry point for, I don't know, to witness everything start.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I can't imagine. I was like just getting into drifting as like Sonoma started, but like drifting had been around in NorCal there'd been events for, many years, like maybe 10 years before that.
What year did you start?
I did my first event in 2010.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh my god. All right. So that was at Sonoma or Altamont? Because Altamont was around, right?
I was post Altamont.
Okay, me too. So I moved down to NorCal 09, 010. And I heard, I was like super excited. I was like, yeah, like I'm going to California. There's going to be tracks. Altamont closed down. I think Sonoma was even starting. It was about to start. I don't know. Yeah, I know it was around. So I took my FC down there. But I remember, there was a point between 2010 and 2012, 2014, where I was super disillusioned with drifting. And it was because there was a lack of stuff to do in NorCal. There was Sonoma, but other than that, there was Thunderhill, like 3 hours away. But other than that, there was really nothing there. So I stopped like 2012, 2014.
I think a lot of people don't know this, but you had an E36 at one point.
I did. I did.
Yeah.
We're living through the E36 era right now, and yeah,
Yeah, you
around
were early.
it was a vert too. It was a
Yeah.
328 vert.
Didn't
Yeah.
you put like a 5.0 in it or something?
I was about to, but I was like, I snapped out of it. It
Okay.
was
You're
I
like,
was going.
I'm going back to this rotary shit.
Yeah,
This is way better.
it didn't feel right. No, but not either. I had an E36 back in like 2014, 2015 for like a year.
I
It was
remember
fun.
that. It was that's when you had the helmet, the like flip down like aviator helmet
I
that
still have that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's
That's
still my
sick.
yeah.
I remember like seeing you in that car and it just said like no ride-alongs on like the passenger
Dude, I
side.
still got that, bro. It rubbed people the wrong way, but I don't know. Like I don't
Uh,
know.
y-
Weird.
you're you're a wild guy. You got like a I don't know. You have like a there's like something. You have a lot of substance, you know?
I'm an edgy bra.
You're an interesting person. You got like there's like a lot going on.
Thanks, Palmer. Oh.
Yeah.
Um, no, actually. So, do you want to? Can I explain like my whole no ride alongs thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So, somebody gave me that sticker. I believe it was Trent Stromkins from Canada. Um, but basically, when we first started drifting, um, it was like it's still such a niche sport, but it's people treated it like it was an amusement park. You know,
Mhm.
um, people would show up to a racetrack and not really realize that we were there to not only have fun but to get better. That it was something that we were trying to get better at, and there'd be people that showed up wanting to just I don't know, just hop in.
Like a
Uh,
carnival ride.
yeah, exactly. It's a carnival
Yeah.
ride, and I
Yeah.
hate feeling like that, especially in Sonoma. And I think that's a part of the reason why I stepped away from it. Like 2012 to 2014 is just the culture and like the people in those early Sonoma days. Like there was a strong group core of drivers, but
Yeah.
the fluff there was like so many hood dudes that just showed up to like just expecting it to be a carnival ride, and I'm just like
Yeah, there
made
was
it
a like
easier.
yeah, there was a point when Sonoma, like, got real there was like yeah, there'd just be, like, a gang of people walking around with helmets, like,
Yeah,
looking for rides and stuff. I remember that.
yeah. Like,
I was selective.
were you?
A little bit, sometimes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for sure.
I
So
mean, like,
you get it.
if a cute girl asks, like, you like, "Sure."
Oh yeah, no, for sure. If you have something to bring to the table and you were there for the right reasons, or you're there for the right reasons, for sure.
Yeah, or
But
like friends. I don't know. I love taking people on ride-alongs.
yeah,
There's definitely times where I regret it though.
yeah.
You're like fuck.
So first off, like let's be real, drifting's not cheap. It
No.
takes a lot. It takes a lot financially, time wise, commitment wise, to get there, just to show up to the dance. You know. And for those of us who've been doing it for quite some time, it's very close and personal to us. I mean, it's my getaway time. It's me time. You know.
Yeah.
Um, I uh, I have a very social job. I talk to people every day. I'm in sales, so I have to. It's part of like my gig. But drifting is like my escape from that kind of reality. And when people just get up all up in your business when you're trying to focus and be present and hammer down a line and they knock on your window and be like, yo, can I jump in? Like, man, like, it's just weird, like trying to balance that with your me time, you know? It's my time to be selfish.
I get it.
Yeah. But I love getting ride alongs to friends, media. I don't know,
Yeah.
the people they're there for the right reasons. It just makes sense, you know. I love to share that experience, especially with like hyped up dudes. But you know, dudes that just show up to an event and like you don't really know why they're there. Like, how do you even end up to this racetrack 3 hours in the middle of nowhere? Like, what are you doing here? Like, they're not driving. They're not with really anybody. I don't know. It's weird to like have that. It's almost a sense of entitlement when they're knocking on your door, like asking to jump in. You know?
I think it also I think it also doesn't help that you have like a car that a lot of people would want to ride in. especially at this point.
Yeah, I guess that's my fault too.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, you don't
Oh,
see people, like, lining up for, like, the, car that looks like it's falling apart.
yeah, but that's usually
Actually,
well,
sometimes.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, it's
Depends on how
I
they're driving.
I get.
It's a compliment.
Oh, for sure. No, it's totally fine. It's just I got tired of having to
Say no,
repeatedly, yeah, say
just
no.
point to the helmet.
Yeah, point to the helmet. Made it
That's so
easier.
much better.
It's kind of douchey though. So I feel kind of bad about it, but whatever.
Don't feel
But
bad.
you get it.
Yeah.
Um, no, it's just I like it when people are there for the right reasons, and I don't know, like if you're there for a great time, no, that's fine. By all means, have fun. I'm there to get better, hone my line, and when I start getting to the groove, then yeah, for sure, hop in, dude. Like media, but right off the bat, roll up, unload everything, and you get knocks on your door already. Man,
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I always tell people no when I first get there.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
like a thing. I'm like, or like if my car's feeling weird or something, like I'm not
yeah,
gonna go take some random in the car. Like I don't want like a wheel to come off and have to do that whole thing. Like
yeah. No, no matter what we say, we care about what the passengers are seeing because it's a very intimate thing. You know, we
yeah,
spend so
yeah,
much time and money, and it takes up so much of our brain hardware that we want to be better at this, and for someone to be right there and witness you fucking up or not driving at your best, it's I don't know, it's not comfortable, you know.
yeah. Um, what do you like? So you've been around, you've been going to events like a super long time. Like, how do you feel about like the progression of like the sport driving? Like, obviously it's grown to this like obscene, crazy spectacle nowadays where like you tell people what drifting is and they actually know what it is versus like having to like explain it, you know?
It's mainstream now, right? It's
Yeah.
in a lot of ways this is back in the day when there was not much of it around. This is what a lot of people hope for, right? So this is it. I love drifting now, man. Like I'm not one of those old heads that
Sick.
are romantically like obsessed about the old days and blah blah blah. No, I love the progression, especially the driving now. Jeez, like what the entry point of people now, like these kids have been driving for sub 5 years. They're better than me. I'll just straight up say it. Like a lot of them are, a good number of them are, I'd say are better than me. Like but it's basically almost in line with like parallel to like skating, right? Where if you get into skating like now, the level for being a standard skater or driver is so much higher than it was back then. You know.
Yeah.
So I love where drifting is now. It's so big, and there's so many different like sects and segments into it that, dude, if you want to obsess about like Japanese, like old school, like traditional drifting, you can, and you don't even have to pay attention to like competition drifting, FD, whatever. Like it's so big in these different aspects that I don't know. I like it. I like it a lot. There's there's this video. It's called I watch a lot of documentaries that have nothing to do with cars or driving. But have you seen Paradigm Lost? It's
No.
Lenny Kai. Do you know him? He's a surfer,
I've heard of him.
younger surfer dude, but he gets looked down upon by all the traditional OG like surfer guys just because he does windsurfing, he does like kite surfing, he does paddle
Mm,
boarding, he does everything, you know. But he's that like being into all those different sects of like different disciplines of drifting, like just makes him I'm sorry, of surfing makes him a better surfer.
surfer
Yeah, yeah,
overall.
yeah. So I'm just like,
Interesting.
there's something to learn in every single discipline drifting now, you know, because each one has its own strength. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
I like
great way
it.
to look at it because it's
Thank
like
you.
there's yeah, I mean, and and if you want to get lost in your own like avenue of drifting, like you can. That's a great point. You can at this point.
You
Like
can, no, for sure. And I'm and like
when there was like 18 people drifting in the PNW, Like, there's only one culture. It's
There was no
that.
culture, you know. It was just
Yeah.
speeding and try
Yeah.
not to crash and get thrown in jail that night.
Yeah, now you, like, don't even need to know, like, you yeah, I don't even I don't know, like, I don't know 90% of the stuff that's going on in drifting, like,
Me too, you
at
know.
this point.
But it's still, I'm not bored. Like there's
No.
constant, you know, there's constantly drifting content to be consumed, and it's the right flavor that I like, you know. So, um, but I have a relatively wide range of friends that I pay attention to. Like in my team alone, there's different kinds of drivers. Really, like we're
Yeah.
like Leon. Well, he used to have the green E36, but it's red now. But he has that 2JZ BRZ. He got into drifting like through like Formula D, in competition format, but he's very mechanically inclined. He's a tech, you know. He's
Yeah.
very mechanically strong. And then there's Mark with the blue R32.4 that kind of got into it like through show, like through the show scene, you know. So he knows a lot of the show guys.
Interesting.
It's such a weird eclectic mix, you
Yeah.
know. So I don't know, like find your niche that you want to obsess about, and I don't know, get better at it. Like that's the whole point, right? So I like it. I like drifting now. I don't yearn for the old days.
So, like, I've noticed that you've been kinda on this, like, push to, like, push your driving skill, like, entries, like, transitions, stuff like that, like, I'm kinda, like, watching your progression in that, and it seems like you're making some good progress.
Oh, thank you, man.
Like, what are you, like are you studying other drivers? Are you just, like, getting more comfortable with kind of, like, being more aggressive in the car? Like, what's your, like
Method.
uh yeah, I feel
Yep.
like I feel like uh, because you used to fight, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so going back to the origin story, like when I moved down to NorCal, 2010 to 2012, I had the FC. Then for some reason, I I was just bored with the scene. I guess it was stagnant to me, so I parted it out, and I sold everything. I got into motorcycles and kickboxing, like fighting. That's kind of what I spent my time on heavily during those couple of years. Um, I had fun and I stacked up so much money not driving, you know, not having to like waste money on cars. I stacked up good coin like those couple of years just because I wasn't driving and I wasn't obsessed about building cars and drifting them. But there was always like a part of me that was something was missing. Yeah, it was like a shell. I felt like a shell. My life wasn't full without it. So it's weird being into drifting like this whole time. I know what it feels like to not do it too, like to quit and get step
Mm,
away from it. And it's I say this in a very like humble sense, but it's something that I can see myself being a part of for the rest of my life, and I would want to, you know. That's something I would want to drive for as long as I can now. But
yeah.
also it's something that's part of me, you know. I've been 2004, 18, 17 years minus the two, so like 15, 16 years of being into this. It's a part of my
You can count
personality.
those 2 years, you were paying attention.
No, I got into motorcycles. I rode the PCH from NorCal to SoCal.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, that was cool. You know, that might be, that was fun. But I fought Muay Thai, like kickboxing.
Mm,
That's I competed in that, and I don't know, like it was fun, but it takes a different toll, you know. It was a lot more risk and wear on your body, and I don't know. It was just my heart wasn't 100% in it like I was into drifting. I'm like, okay, like these are really fun, and I can definitely do this for a while, but like, does it light the fire in me as much as like driving does? Not really, not as much, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
So, I guess, like, my question with the fighting was, like, did you pick up anything from learning like other skills that like have helped you like progress in drifting? Like did you like learn, I don't know, techniques on how to learn or like how to push yourself that
Yeah,
like
yeah.
have helped you like progress in drifting?
Yeah, man. To be honest, I watch a lot more MMA and YouTube fight people than I do drifting and car wise. To be honest, like if you look at my YouTube like feed, like 9 out of 10 of them are either MMA, and then like one of
Interesting.
them, yeah, it's weird. But the learning aspect and the pushing, continually pushing yourself is it's almost it overlaps, with driving. Um, you'll have a sequence of movements in your head that you want to get down, but also you have to sync that up with how the car's feeling, and at that point, you want to put the car where it at a certain part of the track. Very similar to like fighting and kickboxing. You kind of once you once you grow from just basic punches and you start like laying traps and getting like a game down, you kind of know where you want the opponent to be, like what you want them to do. You can use feints, you can do all that stuff. It's very, there's a saying, like an old Japanese like samurai saying, that if you study something and the more you know about it, the more you know about everything. The deeper you understand one
Mm,
thing, the more you know about all things. It's like,
I like that.
but yeah, man, it's a different culture too. Like fight culture is there's a lot more shit talking. Yeah, there's a lot more shit talking. I don't know. There's a lot more armchair quarterbacking. But it is what it is with any extreme sport, like man sport, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I like fighting a lot. I still kickbox and hit the bag. One thing I didn't learn too is that, like, how sim racing, it's kind of like, it gives you a good simulation of driving and getting your muscle reflexes down and getting the feel for the car. I
Yeah.
really wish we had that back then,
Oh
because that's
yeah.
that's
I
kind of
mean,
like the yeah.
that's why these kids can like jump in cars and at least know like the basics at this point.
It's
Like
it's so good.
that's
That's the equivalent of like a heavy bag, you know.
yeah.
So hitting a heavy bag like repetitiously with like getting your jab down, your cross, your kicks down, it's very similar to sim drifting, I would say. And then you don't necessarily have to spar like hitting another person every day. That's actually bad for you, and it's very similar to like your car. If you put that much wear in
Yeah.
your car, your body's gonna be shot. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
does
yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Um yeah, so as far as your driving like recently, I've seen definitely some like cool entries. You're like carrying, I mean, like you've always like carried decent speed and stuff. But like the faster transitions, like what is helping, or at what point are you like get like seeing some success in that? Like, was it just watching people or
Dude, it's watching you guys. Not to brown nose too much, but I mean, you undoubtedly, you guys are the tip of the spear as far as, in my opinion, like Japanese style driving in America, right? I mean, that's just being pragmatic about it. You guys are the closest to it. You guys are good friends with Naoki. You've been to N style. The culture, you're very close as far as the osmosis there. So you guys are definitely like an inspiration for guys like us. Like they're that like that flavor of driving. Um, as far as like influences go, I guess my favorite's like Toshi Gogo. Like
Mhm.
his driving, watching all his I watch his YouTube videos before I drive. You know, it's almost like getting juiced, like watching your favorite skating skater
Yeah.
profile
Yeah,
before you
yeah,
go
yeah.
skating. It's the same thing. You want, it's like, okay, I want to emulate this. I want to be this aggressive, this fast. Don't lift. You want to be on the throttle as fast as possible. So yeah, Toshi Gogo is like up there as far as influences go. I try to I, I try to copy his car setup. You know, like you can't really get into drifting nowadays and completely be oblivious and dismiss car setup that has nothing to do with it, but it's a huge part of like the kind of
Uh,
driving you want to do. You know,
absolutely. You can get around the track without car setup, but if you want to have the car do things,
what you want to do, like what you
yeah,
want to do. Do you want to
if you
flick? Do you want to chuck? Like, it's super cool if you want to show up in a super slam car. It's always going to be cool, but you'll be limited. You know, it's it's almost the equivalent of like the super saggy baggy area. Do you use a skateboard, right?
oh dude, I
Okay.
had crazy baggy jeans.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it was a
Yeah.
super like baggy, like sagging jeans, right? But then
Hmm.
I don't know, does that affect your hops? Like when you got
I don't know.
kind
You
of
definitely can't run very fast.
right? See, you can't push or run as fast. It just mechanically it doesn't help what you're trying to do. It comes to a point where it's definitely cool if you can do that in the baggy jeans, but at one point does your clothes and etc. your equipment affect your driving? You know, like where's that
I
okay?
I love this comparison so
You like
much.
that? Okay.
Yeah,
You
because
know?
I'm guilty of both.
Yeah, no, me too. Like so again, I used to rollerblade, like fruit boot, whatever. Before I got into cars, before I got into fighting and everything. I did that for 10 years and it helped lay the foundation as far as my method of like learning, like falling, eating shit, getting back up, no matter how much it hurt, you know, um,
Yeah.
for very little rewards. But back then, but back then it meant the world to me to like lace those tricks, you know.
Yeah.
Very similar to how I approach like driving now. To this day, it's just like I know when I'm having an off day, but I'm like that's when experience kicks in. It's like okay, am I hydrated? Am I comfortable in the car? My tire pressures like play a role. Like all the little minuscule things that you learn, it all counts for something. You know, it
That's a
all
big one though.
counts.
Like you just named one that like I just started learning was
Oh yeah.
hydration.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
like
cool.
sometimes like you would I don't know, like be like, why am I driving terribly? Like maybe I'm just like not I'm malnourished at the track. Like
Right. No,
yeah.
yeah. Like you got I think I was listening to you and I don't know which podcast it was, but fuck hydration at the track and actually your body and how
Yeah.
it's performing, that's a factor, man. That's an undeniable factor of how you're gonna drive that day, you know? Um I don't know if I'm going on tangents. Am I blabbering or how am I
No,
doing?
you're good.
Am I good? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But like I was actually like we are so one thing I really like about you guys as a team, and like I guess your discipline of driving is that you overdrive the car. It's a driver skill, driver technique, balls, all that is just like it overcomes the deficiencies of what the car might do, right? And I guess Naoki is like the grandmaster of pushing the car exponentially past limits.
Right.
You know, it's like he outdrives the car.
We're all just chasing that.
Oh, for sure. No,
Yeah.
that's a generational talent. You know, it's nice to
Absolutely.
he's a generational talent and like say what you want about him or other drivers for that matter, but yeah, he's a generational talent in that discipline of driving. You know, you can say other competitor drivers are better or whatever, but no one's really better than him in the kind of driving he does and the kind of driving that we like. Um, but you guys overdrive the car and it comes at a cost of the car falling apart. You know, so like there's a whole
Yes.
mechanical aspect that like that it takes a back seat to that kind of driving. You know, you don't really I don't to me maybe I'm just um putting words in your mouth, but you guys don't let mechanical failures or deficiencies affect your driving too much. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean
Okay.
for Julian, I don't think that's like ever been a thing. But for me it was learned. Like it can be
Okay.
learned.
Oh, cool. Right on.
Yeah. Like I was always I think it held me back a lot because I would be like, I don't know, like I remember I just yeah, I remember I got to this point. And I think I said it on here before, but like I just realized that like I it doesn't matter. If I bend a control arm, I bend a control arm. Like I'll
Yeah,
just replace it. Like if I stuff the car, like I'll pull it out. Like if I, do XYZ, if I break a wheel, like um because I was always I was like watching my teammates. Like I was like a decent lead driver, but I could never
mhm,
chase like them.
yeah,
And I just didn't think it was possible, like I just thought I didn't have that ability. And I think it was my fear of damaging the car holding me back from me pushing to get closer or, enter faster or, you know,
right.
transition sooner behind somebody and all that other stuff. And then like once that's gone, it's very freeing.
It's very cathartic, right?
Yeah.
It's almost if you're playing your life as a video game, a whole new level opens up to you. It's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, I just leveled up and I'm starting over from this higher level. But yeah, the mechanical aspect is undoubtedly super important, but it's not as important as some people getting to it make it be. It doesn't really count until you pass like a certain level. You can get around a track super slammed, eBay coilovers, welded diff, and like on 215s, 205s. It'll do. You'll progress into a certain level, but once you linking the track, that's elementary.
Yeah.
That's the basic. That's the basic. That should be the
Yeah.
standard. Like that's not. Once you get to that point, you want to progress past that point. You start throwing chucks, transitioning, tandeming closer. There's so many different like nuances, like as far as drifting that you can obsess about. That I don't know. I think the majority of like the new kids nowadays like are skipping. They're skipping that part.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, people are just jumping in and tandeming and crashing. And I mean, good on them. I guess it's like good. It's like kind of fun to jump into the deep end. I haven't like it's kind of like what you're saying and like skating where like the level of just like an average skater is so high now.
Oh yeah,
It's like fuck, just rolling it back then. It was like when I used to skate, it was like if you could like drop in, I was like, yeah, it was cool. Like now it's
your
like,
friends are clapping.
yeah, now it's like, okay, like
if,
if
yeah,
you don't have if you don't have like a bag of like 10 flip tricks, like are you even a skater? Like
yeah, no, that's why I like this. I like drifting now, just because it asks so much of you, and the expectation is so high. So it's cool. That means it's progressing, right? If it wasn't, then it'd just be stagnant and it wouldn't be as fun. But no, I like drifting now because everything's the skill level so high. It asks so much of you to be able to do it well.
what car setup changes did you make to get the car to drive the way that
Uh,
you wanted?
So I came from the school of thought of like super stiff suspension. That went out the window. That
Yeah.
was really the catalyst of that. Soft suspensions really it's a game changer. The rake, I know you guys don't like to say it, but the Kansai rake helps, definitely helps load up the car and make it do what you want it to do. That was also something that I tried and really really liked, and I haven't really gone back ever since. It's not for everybody. You're not gonna win Instagram likes or points for having it.
No.
You're not. I can't believe we're still. I can't believe this is even an argument in 2022, dude. If you want to drive and drift like slam cars, by all means, do it. It's fucking tight. Do you, boo? But there comes to a point where if you want to chuck, if you want to do like really aggressive flicks, car setup, sending your car to do it like that, it's undeniable. There's gonna
Mhm.
be different changes, like as far as that goes. And then most recently, to be honest, tire compound for me. I ran linglongs and triangles for like the first 10 years of driving, man, and had no idea how much it held me back. I was just like, oh, I'm not breaking anything because I'm running super slick tires, but grip's tight. Grip's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like turns the difficulty up like a little bit, but the reward is so much higher.
Oh, for sure. I'm older now to where I can look back and and say where I'm still weak at, but for the longest time, speed scared me. Speed, like coming into the corner and like hauling at, and
Mm,
like speed was something I was scared of, just because I couldn't see the track markers. Everything was going so fast. Speed was like a almost something that I had to work on. Like I could, you can hide it, with like different kinds of entries and everything, but like mastering and knowing how to control speed going into the corner was something that really opened up this level for me. You know,
yeah,
um,
absolutely. I think that's like the biggest difference and like nuance that a lot of people don't catch is like, are you blasting into the corner? And
right,
like how are you controlling that speed into the
right,
corner?
right. And I honestly haven't, like I've only started being more comfortable with speed the last 2 years, and really that's when I started driving my RX-8. Like I had to drop down and like be honest with myself that the
Interesting.
power level of my FD, it's fucking fast and so
Yeah.
grippy, that I was just like, I don't honestly feel like my driving level was up to par with my car. Like I'll just be
I
honest.
see.
So I had to build a slower car and learn how to drive a slower car, and basically like go back into like my skill set and like relearn, like, and that's how I had to drive a slow car to get faster.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to have a backup slow car. That's another tip too. But maybe that's why all the Corolla guys are so fast once they hop into like powerful cars. Because I went turbo early on, uh,
Mhm.
back in like I want to '07. I went turbo too, like '07, '06, '07. I went turbo from the get go, and I learned clutch kick and powering over way more than say like transitions and like actually e-brake. I didn't have an e-brake for like the first 5 years, so I was all relying on like power sliding essentially.
On like foot
So
brake and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
But that's
yeah.
kinda good. I feel like drifting without an e-brake, like, for a little bit, like a stint is like it teaches you to drive around
Right.
e-brake and not use the e-brake a lot. So it's kinda
Yeah,
like that's like a good I didn't have an e-brake in my E36 for like probably like a year or more.
yeah.
And so I was just having to make it work like in other ways and
Right. But don't you think that like not having an e-brake from the early onset makes you drive a certain way? Like you're heavily reliant on like a throttle to break the car loose, as well as clutch kicking and disrupting the car to go faster, versus
yeah,
coming in hot and then like yoink, you know.
exactly. Yeah.
you know,
I
it
mean, that's
teaches you
like
a certain way.
yeah, that's the biggest thing is you like learn um I feel like without I feel like e-brake entries okay, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah.
say
Let's go.
kind
Let's
of how I feel. All right, so
go.
the biggest thing
Okay.
is that like straight line entry, like a
Yeah.
straight line entry. Like those if you're going completely straight and you have to enter and you need to slow down and it's not like a sweeper where you're carrying more speed, right?
Yeah.
Like doing those entries with an e-brake is 5 times easier
Yeah.
than doing those entries without an e-brake.
For sure. Yeah.
So
No.
like as you like if you learn and you just go you like turn, blast in, turn a little, pull the e-brake, wait for the car to get to angle, drop the e-brake, dump the clutch, and just like, do your thing. But by then, by the time the car is at angle, you have slowed down
Immensely.
immensely and you've slowed down at entry, not
Mhm.
at like coming into the corner. So you're entering like earlier, I guess. Like
Yeah.
entering earlier, but then like you're kind of like extending and then you make the corner. It's that like load up clutch kick where you're like accelerating or you're still
Mhm.
accelerating into the corner, but then you like slow down rapidly because the car's at like a ton of angle, like at the last minute. Like that's what
Yeah.
you're working on. Like I see
Right.
it.
So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like coming from a guy of your driving caliber, that's a lot. Like I appreciate it. You know. But going back to what you said, I think it was a couple of podcasts ago that you said something super profound. Like Streeter, I think, said way back in the day that if you don't feel like your driving is dangerous enough or looks cool enough, then why should other people care about it? Why should other people watch what the fuck you're doing? You know, like
I think I was Julian talking about Naoki.
okay, cool,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm like that.
I remember that too. I was like profound. That wasn't me. That was somebody else.
No, you were quoting somebody, and I was like, okay, if you don't feel like your driving's dangerous enough to where people like, why should other people care? You know, like it's cool, like if you're doing it for yourself, but it's undeniable that drifting is a spectator sport. You know, it looks
Absolutely.
cool. It looks
Absolutely.
cool. There's something about a really aggressive flick or chuck that's undeniable. It's hard to explain for us right now unless we go like sequence by sequence of how much that's different than say like a competition run. You know, it's on a bank. You know, it's very
Yeah.
different things. But does it look cooler? Yes, it looks way cooler. Like it just looks cool. It's the word style gets thrown around a lot, and it's hard to explain that just because everyone's take on drifting so nuanced now. But does it look cool? If the answer is yes, then it's probably really good driving. You know.
Yeah.
But as I progress on like into drifting, like what I like about it has changed too. It's undeniable. I used to be all about big smoke, yeah, like never lift, blah 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 blah. But like now that's on to me. That's very it's a very shallow way of looking at it. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Big smoke and never lifting's easier.
Yeah, that means you're going slow too. You know,
Yeah.
smoke means slow to me.
Yeah.
That means you have more grip in the tires and you can go faster. Like when you advance and you start looking for the small things in a run, the violence of the car as it flicks in is a big factor now. Going back to your original question about like what I've really been studying, fucking Aaron, man, like Levitt just got so good so
Yeah.
quick. He's a local dude, and it's funny he watched like the street drifting video of me and Lucas and Darren way back in the day, back in high school or some shit. And now his driving is one of the ones I look up to, dude. Like undeniably, he goes in so hot that he'll fade into the wall and of course do a backy, but it's a clutchless feint, so that's terrifying and going to the wall, like clutchless feint, and then he uses the throttle to slow down now. You know, that's hard to explain to someone getting into it, but if you're using the throttle to slow down and you're using angle to like you're locked into the line, that means you have really no recourse. You can't power into anywhere else, and you're using the throttle to like slow you down and make the corner.
Yeah.
That's insane.
You're right. There's no recourse. Like,
yeah, no, you're locked into the line.
If you time it wrong, or you're like, or your like throttle control's off, like you're going deep,
right?
Like it's, yeah, dude's a machine.
And he makes it look easy and like not easy, but he makes it look effortless and it's consistent, and you can tell he's just getting faster and better. And I'm like, okay, that's once him and Austin, when Austin came up and started doing those chucks here, I'm like, oh shit, this is a new thing. This is a new level on how to drive Evergreen. It's a new level to study and like try. And then the next time I went there, I'm like, oh shit, I actually did it too. So I'm start doing it.
It's pretty cool. It feels pretty good to like go to like a track I've never driven before and like do stuff that like is like challenging like what has been done at that track.
For sure.
And that's new for me.
Oh, okay.
yeah. Like going out there, he's like, try the fourth gear entry. I was like, okay, like you like God rip it. He's like, yeah, that was it. He's like, oh, sick.
Well, it's the equivalent of like showing up to like a new skate spot. and busting something gnarly, right? Not just, I don't know, like a 50-50 grind or whatever. It's like something crazy that there's a high chance of you eating shit because you're not used to it. But it's showing up to a foreign like landscape and driving consistently. It's a very rewarding thing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it felt good.
You
That
showed
was
up the local. You showed up the locals.
yeah, we went and deaded the spot real quick, you know.
Yeah. That
It
was
was
sick.
it was definitely a cool experience. It was like yeah, the private days we just did like 2 days, and they were like 3 hours or 4 hours or something. We just
Yeah,
all drove like nonstop. Like
that's a lot.
it was pretty ridiculous. Like I have not experienced anything like that before. I hope that we can do it again at some point because like it was just yeah, we like kept it secret. Like no one really
Yeah,
like said that we were going, and
right.
it was like kind of we hadn't done anything like that before, so it was pretty fun, man. I
It's
really
def-
I needed that.
oh, good. Okay, cool. Because
Um,
it's a what one thing about Evergreen too. That's daily. Like someone's always renting that track out. It's tight. It's a good facility, and um, it's drifting's been around there for about 15 years. But I just feel like it's only starting to push what's actually possible at that track. You know,
yeah,
um, seeing Aaron and Austin's like driving initially and like being inspired by that, I'm like, shit, why don't we eventually like throw a comp where it's just like chucks and like that kind of driving instead of like the bank, you know?
yeah.
Um, I think one of the sabotage kits is like just because there's a bank there doesn't mean you have to drift it. You know, it's a different kind of driving. It's a different style of driving, and it's not for everybody. Um,
No, and
it's
I really
definitely
hope like I don't know. It's like yeah, like you were saying, like smoke equals slow. Like it's like do you want to go fast and do you want to not buy as many tires? Like try this.
yeah. It looks cool too. It's really hard to explain right now when someone got into drifting right now and you showed them like a Japanese style run and like a Formula D run, like a normal Formula D like oval run, and you tell them this is the same thing. They're like, no, not really. It's not the same thing. Um, Here's a story. So I think it was 2 years ago. We were chilled in my teammate Leon's house. We were wrenching on stuff, and so the guy that got me into drifting, 15, he was back in town. He's a very free spirit. He'll just show up randomly. I'm like, I'm back in town. Let's buy me a car. Let's go driving. So he was balls into drifting like a couple summers ago. He's disappeared now. He's gone. He's a fiery spirit. But we were watching um, Formula D Japan on Leon's TV, and everything was cool, right? And I was like, wait a minute, you just got back into drifting? Let me show you this shit. I started playing like Toshigogo and Naoki stuff. He's like, this is the shit that I'm into. I'm like, yes, I knew it. It's a basically if it's a late progression of the old school Japanese style of driving. You know, it's
Yeah,
if you got into drifting, the Japanese option video Dory Drift Tengoku VHS way, this is a this is an elevated modern day version of that. You know, it's a different thing. You know, it's not for everybody, and that's okay. You know, there's a lot of things to learn from different aspects of drifting. Um, shit, I was rambling. What was it? What were we talking about?
you're good, dude. It's a podcast. It's their
Oh,
part.
okay. Um, but like there,
You've listened to this podcast? We go
yeah.
everywhere. You're fine.
Okay, cool. I'm uber nerding on like the driving aspect of it. I hope that's okay. I'm not boring too many people.
That's what everybody likes. So
Oh, okay. Um, there's an undeniable mechanical component of it too. You
hmm
know that that is very important if you want to progress. The Formula Drift competition discipline of driving, they're very strong at it. They're very strong at making high horsepower, high grip, high performing cars. You know, but they're very quick to blame mechanical deficiencies versus like adjusting their driving. to compensate for that, which is, I think, a big differentiator in like driving styles. Naoki will literally drive the wheels off a car and finish the run like nothing happened,
Yeah.
right? He'll drift like on one tire and he'll do the same chuck and super close transition and door bumping.
Because he's done it a million
Whereas,
times before at Mahon.
yeah, right?
Like a flat front tire, put it on someone's door. And you're like,
Yeah, man. That's skill.
you
That's like
psycho. Yeah.
it's very easy to say that like that's psycho, but he's transcending the mechanical limits of the car. He's making the car do what the car's not supposed to do, but he's just good at it, you know?
It
Like,
does feel good that, like, I don't know, for like the last like large amount of time, my friends and like a lot of people are just like, this is the guy, like this is like, and then he goes to D1 and just cleans up, and it's like, okay, like now it's undeniable. Like
right.
where's all the naysayers at
We're the
now?
haters, bro. We're
Yeah,
the haters.
he's blocking them out, dude.
Now, the mechanical aspect of that, once you bring that up to like the driving thing, now you're just unstoppable. It's
Right.
undeniable, unstoppable when your car's sick, high horsepower, it's fucking three wheeling and doing fucking
And like the comp shit's fun and exciting too, like
super.
I'm not, like, I enjoy it. I think it's the people who like do the scrappy like grassroots driving and like like try and go fast, and like you really like learn how to drive around the car once you do start kind of like going in that direction. It's like, oh, like you said, you're like, if you can learn to drive around the car and you can learn to carry speed, and you just like get like an immense amount of seat time in, once you start going down that other path, like it's like, oh, well, well, where did this come from? Like, like I haven't seen this guy at Pro Am before, it's like,
Right, right. Now, I wish there was this is like my nerd side talking about, I wish everyone had like stats, mechanical, driving aptitude, driver IQ, tandem, entries. You can have like a 6, 9, 7.
sick. I
That
love
would be,
that.
that would be cool. I
Yeah.
don't know how you do it, but like it's cool to.
We can all make trading cards.
No, it's I think that's fun, and it makes the sport funner. Some people are definitely stronger chase drivers than lead drivers. Some people chuck harder. Some people are just strong in all aspects, but for some reason can't keep it mechanically together. Julian,
I know a couple of
super
those people.
high, right? It's kind of tragic. Their driving
Fucking guy.
IQ, right? Like their driving IQ is so high. He's like out of a 10, he's like a 9, 9, 9, 9. But then
Yeah.
like for some reason, like the mechanical aspect isn't there. It's a bummer, just because
I think
you want.
I think he's always out driving the car.
Yeah,
I think that's where it comes from, is he's always
yeah.
like, he has there's like a term called like mechanical empathy. Have you heard that?
Ooh, no, 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 please.
Yeah, Julian is a mechanical sociopath.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. He don't care. Like he doesn't.
He doesn't he's not, there's nothing going through, so like I have a friend who's like, aren't you like thinking about the car, like, or this or that? I'm like, I'm not thinking about the car anymore at all, like,
Yeah.
but I'm definitely thinking about the car more than Julian, even
Yes.
still.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I think Naoki's very similar, and like some of these drivers who are just like absolute monsters, like they don't give a fuck about the car. Like they're
Yeah.
not thinking about the car, like any percentage.
Right.
They're
Right.
like, I am going to drive this line. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to chase this car, and they're not. They're zero thought about the car.
Right. That's romantic, and like I look up to that mentality for sure. A little bit harder though, coming from like a streeting background, just because I street drive everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's always a part of me that's like, how am I getting home? I have to drive this thing home. I literally have to drive it 3 hours home or wherever the fuck I am, and have everything be road worthy enough to go into highway speed to make it back home. So I think that honestly, like that held my driving back for years, not having a tow rig.
Yeah.
And I, I I couldn't drive 10/10s. Like I had to drive max like 7/10s, 8/10s. Like so,
Yeah.
I'm always like I was always holding back. But most recently, I started like overcoming that a little bit. So um,
It makes a big difference.
it does. Like tow rigs. I just got a tow rig like in the last couple of years, and I don't really use it as much as I did. I still street drive a lot, which
Yeah.
is funny.
I'm so
Um,
jealous of you guys up there. I'm not gonna lie. Like riding around with like Aaron and everybody in their street cars. I'm just like watching him drive to the track, and we're just like, I didn't think about it at the time, but like when
uh,
you're like door to door, and you're like, he's driving us home.
yeah, it's different, right? Like that's
Yeah,
like I mean, being in Washington, you're blessed because you have a track within an hour of you, you know. But the streetcar laws are, I mean, they're definitely tightening up now, but they're a lot more lax in California for sure. You know, knock on wood, but like you don't really hear a lot of people getting impounded or towed just because their car slammed or it looks crazy.
dude, just
It's
driving around Everett, like be like, oh, R32
yeah,
slammed on KS, like, oh, JZX
yeah,
90, JZX 100. And you're like,
yeah.
what the fuck? Like, literally, you don't go like 10 minutes without seeing a Japanese like import, like literally like imported car, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, it's crazy to me. Like the concentration
Yeah,
of cars in that like area. I'm just, it's like mind blowing
versus say like Teslas and BMWs in
where I
NorCal,
live.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Smart cars and electric cars. You know, I
yeah.
I was just
Hey
like,
man, the pick
oh,
and pull is good pickings out here for me. There's,
I bet,
there's so
I
many
bet.
BMWs.
No, like we're definitely in a privileged area of the country where we have a mixture of tech wealth, but also um, rural laws. You know,
Yeah,
there's almost like this layer around like Seattle, like this circle around Seattle where it's cool to make like Boeing or tech money, but they don't really give a fuck about what you drive. You know, it's lax.
yeah,
It's nowhere near as lax as it used to be, but I still do it. I still street my FD to the track.
yeah. I love it.
Thanks, man. But having a tow rig definitely is undeniable factor because you can drive 10/10s, you know, and not have to worry about how you're going to get home. So that's another factor.
Yeah, there's like I don't know if you've seen them, but there's like a group called Crash Style in Northern California, and they're all
Yeah,
like,
dude,
they drive their cars to the track a lot, and
that's sick.
I'm
Yeah,
like, you guys are out of your minds.
yeah.
They're just like bumping into each other and stuff, and they're like, well, figure it out.
That's dope.
I
Yeah, that's
love it.
dope. Yeah. Story time. Back in I think so. This was before I finished my FD, but so I guess like 2014, I just got back into drifting. I built an FC really quick. I just threw a turbo two really quick together while my FD was getting finished, and then I think I met the Gold Star dudes. Like, oh, you guys have cool low street style cars. So I was drifting with them a lot in like the Stockton Fairgrounds and Sonoma and everything. And then we ended up road tripping to Medford, like to all the way to Oregon, like one time.
Oh, I
And
remember that. There's like a video. I think I remember a video you shooting like a huge fireball on the freeway.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like cool drift voyages where you're streeting cars is kind of half the fun of it too. So we left Sacramento super late, like around 6 7 p.m. So we hit Mount Shasta around 10 11 at night, and so we're accidentally togeing up Mount Shasta just to get to Oregon. And here I am like lighting up the way with like big ass firewalls just because my FC is like overheating from going uphill for fucking an hour. And then I got Dominic Goldstar in his like Red Twin ZX like in front of me, Max like it was sick. It was dope. We were just like it was an accidental like almost toge run on the way to go drifting in Oregon.
That was when Max had the Miata, right?
um, I I know he had his green S13 coupe.
Oh yeah, that
So
one's
after
cool.
his Miata, yeah, that one's super
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
yeah. That's
that was a fun one. That was a fun one.
those like those Medford events were pretty fun for a while. Was that
Yeah,
like one of the first or like second bashes?
I can't remember.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know.
2014, 2015, I think is what
Yeah,
it.
that was one of the first ones. Those were like when
Yeah,
they were like pretty wild party.
yeah. No, those are fun. But street driving is like it's another thing of like drifting. Like if you want to street your car and get good at streeting your car, there's sacrifices you have to make, but it's its own thing too. It's dope.
Yeah,
Makes you build a reliable car because it's your only method of transportation home.
yeah, absolutely.
But it's also for the longest time why I drove how I did, and also how I build my car that way. Like I never went E85. I always ran pump gas, readily available off the shelf parts. Just I don't know, like
Just in
I,
case.
yeah, in case it's I didn't have anything uber nice or super expensive, but everything was bolt on and basically like very, very, very streetable. You can daily it, if I wanted to. So I followed that methodology for a long time. So
Do you ever drive the FD to work?
a couple of times. I've actually been thinking of doing it lately, but I don't know. I compartmentalize. Like I don't know about you, but
I see.
yeah, I don't. I lead double lives, multiple lives, like between work, racing. They know what I do. Like my managers are super cool with it, and they know when I have to have time off. I'm going racing and everything. But yeah, I compartmentalize. I don't really humor that at work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like one of those things where you're like, I don't know. I'm not good at that.
What do you mean? Like, does it?
I'm not good at like compartmentalizing and like not talking about like drifting or stuff. Like I like yeah, like everything that's going on with me is like going on in all of the places.
Oh no, really? That
Yeah,
would drive me nuts, man. I like I So I sell cars. I work
yeah,
for Toyota. I'm a sleazy car salesman. No, no, we're cool people. I like my store a lot, and but I don't really talk cars. I don't talk cars when I'm at work. People know I do it, but it's so personal and so close to me that I'm like, where is this conversation going? Like, where could it really go? Like, what? How can I grow from this, and what can I learn from this conversation about drifting with my coworkers? Really nothing.
yeah.
It's like
They're
okay,
gonna learn about you, and then they're gonna retain like 20% of it, and it's gonna be like weird information that like
yeah,
that's like not right.
it's very personal to me. Like I'll be honest, it's very close and near and dear to my heart. Like I take my driving and cars and drifting personally. Maybe I care too much about it that I don't invite people in just because it's very superficial to them. It's like, oh, cool. Worst case scenario, they pick up a car, they're kind of over it in a year or two. I've seen it. I've seen it. Like it's hard. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, there's definitely like the people who check it out, and there's like the lifers, and you can kind of tell who's gonna like stick around for the long
Yeah.
haul.
And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
32.
Okay, cool. Um, you've seen droves of people fall in love with drifting, pursue it. In a year they're competing and chasing a Formula D license. Next year you never hear from them ever again. It's a cycle.
Yeah,
Like,
they spent everything they had and like took out
yeah,
loans, and now they're gonna work for the rest of their life to pay it off because
yeah.
didn't work
and,
out.
and even
Or
then,
ordering pallets of tires and
yeah, and I'm just like, oh no, like that's one way to do it, like shit, but you can microdose. you, you don't have to be a complete like junkie like from the get-go. You can microdose and enjoy the ride, man. Enjoy your
yeah,
progression, and a
yeah.
lot of ways.
You don't need to eat 8 grams of psilocybin mushrooms. Like you can try it out first.
Right. You can ease into it, and to be honest, that curve is part of the fun. The progression is part of the fun.
Yeah, I agree.
It's I I think learned about like I don't know halfway into drifting that the process of driving learning, noting your deficiencies and where you want to get better at, and then trying different stuff out the next event, and then making a decision of changing things mechanically, and then changing something mechanically, doing upgrades, and then going back out. That part right there, where you notice your progression from changing something mechanically and making an upgrade, it's very rewarding to me. It can be as simple as like a changing tire compound.
That is the best advice.
You know,
that was very, very good advice.
You know, it's
and it's not what you would think is how you should do it when you're starting out.
No, you want to go from D class to S class as fast as possible, right?
Yeah.
The aggression from D, A, whatever, to like building your car to match and your driving curve. It's important. It's an important part of enjoying drifting fully. You know.
Yeah. Leave it the fuck alone.
It's not your toe arms, right? It's not your toe arms. You're just it's not, your knuckles are fine. You don't need this. You're not going to utilize the angle that Wise Fab or whatever is going to get you. Up to a certain point, it doesn't matter. Once you get up past a certain point, and once you start pursuing kind of driving, then mechanical improvements definitely matter. But it's a lot later in the progression curve than a lot of people think. You know. So.
Yeah, it takes years.
Yeah, it does, and people don't want to admit that. They don't want to put in the time.
Like, I think it was like my second or third time at Sonoma. You're gonna die.
No.
Like, I kept understeering on entry, and I was like, "Oh, it must be because my car's too heavy."
Was it your S13, the white one?
Yeah, I took my hood off.
Yes. Did it worked, right? You started checking? Oh, dang.
The new shit.
Yeah. No, it's stuff like that.
I was like, what? I was like, oh, I'll take my hood. The front end must be too heavy. That's why it's understeering. It's like, no, you're just driving bad.
Right. And maybe that's,
or tire pressure or something like actually helpful, but like when it's, I don't know, it's all learning. You like make those mistakes. Definitely make those mistakes.
I think I wrote about this on like a Facebook once, but like as Westerners and Americans, I think one of the key differences is that Americans are very quick to blame car setup versus technique. You know, it's a different way of thinking of oh, blah 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 blah. I'm not making enough power. Blah 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 blah. I don't know. Like my turbo's not spooling correctly. I don't know. Like they're very, as Westerners, we're very quick to blame the car versus forcing ourselves to deal with the problem and acknowledge whether it's actually a mechanical problem with the car or we're driving like shit, and then, or if it's in between, driving around it, and learning from it. It's absolutely, it's a big piece of the puzzle.
I mean, yeah, I actually, I noticed that like in the pits in Japan, like people are talking about like line and setup and like, where are you doing X, Y, Z? And here we're like super guilty of what tire pressure are you running? Like, who are, like what, I mean, I think they talk tire pressure too and stuff, but it's but it's like people talk technique and line and like where people are entering and like what techniques they're using and stuff, I think a lot more often than we do. And that's like a thing that I'd really like to break, because I think talking about technique really helps and like locate, like I mean, if you're like into racing or whatever, people are talking about like braking zones and like where like what line, like are you late apexing, or you do like they're talking line and all that at the track. So why can't we do that?
For sure. And maybe it's because of the infancy stage of drifting that we're just slowly getting out of, or maybe it's like it's a culture thing that we have to overcome. And it's pride, as Americans and just Westerners, we're very obsessed with the car setup, and because when you get into it, it plays a huge part in how you're driving when it doesn't. I think Mito, when he made the Japanese drifts like techniques video, have you watched that? It's like
Hmm.
28 minutes. He covers that in that there's a word, optimized. Westerners love their cars to be optimized. Their knuckles are their steering is optimized. Their drivetrain is optimized. The powertrain is optimized. Everything has to be 100%. Whereas the Japanese way of doing stuff is overcoming deficiencies in mechanical stuff. It's in my honest opinion, like no, like overdriving the car and being able to make up for lack of power, like even lack of angle, lack of performance shows a better caliber of driving overall. You know,
Yeah. And like, at what point is that holding you back? But I think we're seeing like in just a very basic like that almost like doesn't it almost doesn't happen to a point like depending on what you're doing, right?
right?
Like I got beat in a big entry contest by one of the crash style dudes in like a like basic E36 like with knuckles, like but he's just he literally it's turn 14 at Thunderhill
Wow.
East. And so
Okay.
like he's literally like gripping the last like three corners to get as much speed as he can onto the straightaway to just like throw
That's
the car as absolutely as fast as possible. And he does it. Like, and it's just like, wow, okay. I have like, literally almost
a
I don't know, I want
decade.
to say like 80%
Yeah.
more horsepower.
Right.
I've been drifting longer than he has. I,
It's frustrating, right?
like,
These fucking kids these young kids are so damn good. Like
yeah. And you're like,
they're
okay,
so
well,
good.
I was like, I was like, damn, I think I did pretty good. I don't know if I won. And then I watched his run and I was like,
Damn it.
fuck you, Drew. Fuck you. I'm gonna point
No.
at you, fucking Drew. God damn it.
No, those guys are
Shit,
awesome.
shit was
Uh,
sick.
yeah, big fan of younger dudes pushing driving, and to me, that's being in drifting for the right reasons. To me, it's very pure. Like as far as like wanting to progress your driving, chuck harder, enter faster. It's clout and Instagram likes and all that stuff. It'll come, like or not. Who cares? But it's just like this drifting is very pure form to me at this stage.
That's what I'm curious about. Like,
Okay.
so you were doing this like before social media, pretty much. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
social media was like around, but it wasn't like what it is now.
Uh huh.
Uh, I guess back when you were doing it, it was like forums. I guess like it was you were like cool on forums, but like that didn't really mean anything. Like no
It
one
didn't
like
mean
knew who
shit.
they didn't know who you were. Like it was
Uh,
you just had some uh clout on a forum, right?
yeah, right.
And now
It sounds so nerdy and gay when you say it like that, but it's true for sure. Yeah,
I mean, I remember I was like a kid on the car forums, and there's like
yeah,
always like the dude that you don't know what he looks like, but he's like the cool guy, and you know for a fact that guy like just has like some desk job that he like
yeah.
just being mean to people on the internet, but he was smart, so just like putting people in their place. I don't know, like
No, I get what you're saying. Like,
the
in
difference now of social media and its like
mhm,
influence on like growing the sport, but then like also like how it's affected it over the years.
right. It's a double edged sword. So going back to 15, that's the guy's name that I got into drifting, by the way. When he came back for that summer 2 years ago, um, it was it was almost like that movie Encino Man. It was it was a fucking caveman brought back into like the modern age where fucking drifting is like 50% social media, power setup's crazy. Fucking like he was like, nah, I ain't no running soft suspension or rake. Fuck that shit, dog. That shit's whack. Like I'm slamming my shit. Blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, that's
Dude,
cool.
man.
Right. You do you. So as far as social media goes, he looked at his phone and shit. He was like, I don't know how to do this shit. Like, what the fuck do I care? I don't think drifting the drifting that he fell in love with and the drifting that he introduced me over a decade and a half ago is not the same thing as it is today. You
Yeah.
know, whether that be a good thing or a bad thing is all up to you and what you're talking about. But it's not the same thing. Would I say when he got into drifting, it was a lot more pure? Yes. It was a lot more based out of like street culture
Yeah. Underground.
and underground. Discretion was you didn't want to be known for it. You know, he's the cat that like he's been locked up like twice for street drifting. You know, we all know those guys, but he's the one who got. If that guy who's been locked up multiple times is the one that got you into drifting, period, it's you kind of see it from a very like a pure point of view. When he came back into like driving like 2 years ago, you could tell he was like, "What the fuck is this shit? Like, this isn't the same kind of drifting that I fell in love with. I just want to go drive." And that struck a chord with me. I'm just like, that's so true. Like, if I were to get into drifting now, I don't think I would fall in love with it the same way, just because it's not the same thing. But at the same time, if you look at it from the other point of view, where you don't want to be over romanticizing the past, social media might be its own skill set. You know, it's its own. You know,
Interesting.
you don't wanna. We don't us OG heads that like have been around since forums days. Like
Yeah.
we don't. It's a hard pill to swallow, but maybe social media it's its own discipline. You know,
Oh, I hate that you said that because it's so true.
Case in point, here's my thing. Adam LZ, undeniably one of the top drivers in America, but he weaponized like social media and made him work for him. Is that not an efficient way of being better at your craft? You know, he not playing devil's advocate there.
No,
you know?
I mean
you can't hate.
No, you're blowing my mind, man.
I don't know. I've wanted to talk about this for quite some time and make YouTube videos on it, but it's a cool way of looking at stuff, right? There's something to learn from everybody.
I don't disagree. I think that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
And I think it's like it sucks because it's like it's this additional barrier to entry to like be like you can't just be a good driver anymore. You have to
Yeah.
be a good driver. And it's like it's not even I mean even okay, it's like in the pro stuff. It's like you have to be a good driver and a personality, but it's like now if you want to like get any kind of support even on like a grassroots level, it's like the first question you get
Right.
is what's your following?
What's your social blade and
Yeah,
all,
they
what
don't
are
they don't give a they don't
right?
even they like are you good at driving? And then number 2 question is like what's your following? You know, like what do you know,
Shit. Like
what are your numbers? Like I've made spreadsheets of like YouTube views and stuff like for team stuff, you
okay.
know, and
Yeah.
like all of our combined like social media, like pretty much our fucking clout rating, you know?
Right. Right. Like social media imprint / clout rating. Right. I like it.
Yeah. And so
And
like they want all those numbers. They're like, okay, yeah, we like know of you, but that's not enough. It's like, what do your actual numbers look like?
mm,
And you gotta like assemble that. And so like people are desperate for those numbers because those numbers mean
money.
yeah,
They mean money. Like at the end of the day, it means money. And whether you want to admit it or not, it takes money to do what we do.
yeah,
And it takes money to get better at what we do, you know, more so other sports. It kind of goes back to the transition from me from skating to drifting. There was the money aspect that I'm like, I'm not the most talented skater, but I'm pretty good with my money, above average as far as like finances go. I can pour that into mechanical upgrades and stuff. That's a whole thing that I can like be better than average at. But now it comes to the point where money and social media, like it's undeniably a whole stat now. Like we're
yeah.
going back to the stat: pure driving IQ, consistency, chase tandem. As much as you don't want to admit it, fucking social media it's its own bar, you know, as you know,
Yeah.
and you can totally negate that. That's all up on you. But at the same time, the world's not fair. Drifting is going to keep evolving.
Yeah, and there's gonna be
And
some kid that does the exact same social media thing that you wanted to do,
right,
and it's like you can't be mad.
yeah.
This is a
Well, you
lot of
can't.
competition out there now.
We can't be mad, but it's not going to be effective. It's not going to make you a better driver, and that's what we're all striving to be. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially for older guys like us. Like, why aren't the hardcore Japanese drivers got hundreds of followers, whereas XYZ social media YouTube dude who can barely link the track and do a consistent run, he's got sponsors up the ass. He's got all the money. I'm not talking about Adam LZ, by the way. I'm talking about
Yeah, just in
everyone else.
general.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And maybe that's an argument to be like, hey, if you refuse to ignore that side of drifting nowadays, it comes at a cost. Everything has a cost. If you don't want to beef up,
Yeah, you better get that money somewhere else if you don't want
right?
it to be
Yeah, for
if you
sure.
don't want it to be if you don't want that, like, for lack of a better term, fucking
Clout.
clout.
Hey, it comes at a cost, man. You got to pay your own way for sure, and more power to you. And we're all in the same boat. Like I'm everything. I don't have any real sponsors. I don't have any sponsors. Everything's paid for out of my own pocket. But at the end of the day,
For the love of drifting. I mean, I think
it's
there's, like,
yeah.
a lot of people out there who know that they can't do that, and so there's,
Mm,
like it just, like, floods YouTube and Instagram and stuff, like, I don't know, like, I'm seeing you see, like, people who are, like, sponsoring their posts of them drifting,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
probably dumping, like, hundreds of if not, like, 1,000, like, I mean, if I'm seeing it and there's, like, all these people liking it and they have, you know, 200 followers or whatever, like, they're probably dumping a lot of money into that post and, like, getting that stuff out there, and it's, like, it's becoming more and more common, like, people are just like, "How do I use this, like, thing that I'm doing to, like, fund the thing that I'm doing?" And it's like
that's always been a question, right? Who's going to pay the bill? Who's going to pay? Who's going to pay for the bill for what the fuck? Who's going to pay and clean up for this party? I think there was like an old school like driver from NorCal. I think his name was Ryan Bell.
"Oh,
He
Ryan."
Okay, cool. He great driver from what I remember. Him and
Yeah,
Matt Field like came up together like through Drift
yeah.
Crib and everything. Um, him and I.
He was one of the original, owners of Drift Cave, I believe.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Super cool guy. He said something to me. Him, Matt Field, and I were instructing at like at a Fat Lays Drift event like years ago, right? And he's
Mhm.
like, "Man, the trick is to find someone else to front up the bill for what you're doing. You know, the trick is to have someone pay for this shit." I'm like, "Huh, that's an interesting way of looking at it. And if you want to go pro and compete with the big boys, yeah, it's an undeniable thing that you have to find someone to pay your way." But
I sat down with him at, Pro-Am, one of the Pro-Am rounds.
yeah,
I was, like, spotting for Madrigali, and I did an awful job. I was my ADHD was, like, on, like, level 10 that day, and I was just like
nice.
yeah, anyway, that's a story for another day. I was not particularly happy with my performance, rightfully so.
Right.
Uh I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty good." And he's like, "Any notes?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." He's just like, "What the fuck?" Anyway, whatever.
Dang. It
Uh,
was pretty good. Pretty good.
yeah, so helpful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I was talking to Ryan Bell in the stands. I think it was, like, after the event or something, and he was just, like, telling me I was, like, talking to him about because like, I was a decent driver, and I, like,
Yeah.
kinda was, like, thinking I was doing pretty well, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll try this, like, Pro-Am thing," and he's like, "Look, man, like, unless you got, like, some parents that wanna fund you or, like, you have, like, some family stuff going on or, like, you had, like, deep pockets from income or, like, you have some kinda, like, way to, like, really promote yourself and, like, have people wanna, like, support you." I'm I, like I am painting houses on
Yeah.
the weekends. I don't think I've slept more than, like, 6 hours in the last, like, year and a half, maybe more. Like, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember everything he
For sure.
said,
No, I
but
get
he
it.
pretty
Yeah.
much just told me, like, you know, it's it's unrealistic if you don't have money. And this is like when you could go to FD with like a LS with a like stock LS transmission and
Right.
like make like 400 horsepower and still like kind of be competitive,
Yeah.
and it's like he's telling me that then, like I can only imagine what it's like now. And like my only fear is that over time, as there's more and more people like being content creators and this and that, I think the one that kind of hurts me is like when people who like don't really love drifting, like
Mm.
kind of like get into it as like a means for like promoting their like
Brand.
personal brand, and
The brand. Yeah.
you're like, I'm gonna do like they're already like kind of like semi famous for something else, and then they like get into drifting, and you're just like, if they get in and they respect the sport and they like, you know, like really appreciate it is for what it is, by all means, welcome to the community, right? But like if you can,
Yes.
if it's very obvious that it's just like I bought a drift car and I'm just gonna go like have fun, but I'm gonna like make a bunch of content out of it, and like, it's definitely watering down the thing. But I don't know. It's kind of like everything where
I
pe-
love it's an awkward thing to talk about, right?
yeah,
It's kind of unspoken right now, just because there's a lot of new personalities in drifting that like they have. I don't know what's a good number for followers. 50? Like they have over 50K in followers. They
mm,
got a sick 400 horsepower or whatever car, 500 horsepower car. Can't link the track. You can't link the track. You can't chuck. You can't link the track. And drifting is very similar to skating. It's very similar to fighting. There's no lies told at the dojo. There's no lies told in the ring. Once you're out there and you're actually driving, you can't really
they
no
can't edit
matter
that out.
you can't no amount of clout's gonna help you, bro. Like
Yeah.
you're either gonna like drive good or not. And that's why
The hard part is like you can just edit around it. It's like, oh yeah, like you like edit one corner into another corner, and it's like I
we
don't know.
know though. We know though.
We
We
do,
know. We do. We know.
but like other,
We know.
the majority, the I guess like who's your audience? Who are you trying to like have like? Obviously, this podcast is for drivers. It
Yeah.
always has been because
Yeah.
that's what I am and that's what I care about, and those are the people that I want to hang out with.
And we
Like,
appreciate you. It's sick. This
yeah,
is forming drift culture in the way you want it to shape and form. I'm so for it, man. You're doing an awesome job.
thank you.
You're talking to the right people. You're talking to the young people that don't have like the biggest following or haven't been doing it that long, but they're pushing the envelope of pure driving and the driving that we like to do. And in a very real sense, it's keeping the purity of drifting from being too
Damn,
distilled and very very surface level. You know,
damn. Thanks, man. That's
you're welcome, man.
it's more than that's more profound than I would describe this thing. But
It is that's from my honest viewpoint, and that's why I was honored to be invited to this podcast, just because at my age you don't really have that many people that have been doing it for as long as I have that haven't pursued like the pro uh
but I like that.
you know.
You like the purity of what this is, what it brings. Like it's not a uh, I don't know. It's it's an escape. That's
It
like
is an escape.
I think
It's an
that's what
escape.
we I think that's what we all like, the people who like really flock to it and like hold on to it. It's like
Mhm.
this like escape for like people. I don't.
Are
It
you
is.
weird question, are you a religious person? Like were you brought up in like a religion?
Um, I I went to Catholic school in kindergarten and first
Me
grade.
too. I'm Filipino, so it's
Yeah,
Catholic upbringing, right? So,
it kind of fell off early
right.
on
Me too.
for
Yeah.
me, and I think I don't think my anyway.
No,
It's
no, no. Yeah,
it's
for sure.
complicated, but
Cool, cool. So, religion's like a weird word nowadays, but I read in a book somewhere, and I'm terrible at quoting things, obviously, but one definition of religion is something that you think of every day. Like whether it be money, power, your family. community, actual theology is what you think of every day. Shit, for people like us, drifting is the closest thing we have to religion.
Yeah.
And like drift events are the closest thing we have to communion and like a community, right? Because we our Instagram feeds, I'm sure you can measure metrics, the amount of drifting that we consume is it's way more than like theology and religion. So it's the closest thing we have.
Oh, and
to
we're
religion.
like fundamentalists.
Extremists.
Yeah. We're like looking at those mega churches like, you motherfuckers.
Right? We're the Amish. We're fucking Al Qaeda of drifting. But it's true. It's true. If you want to think of parallels, in my honest opinion, is the closest thing you might have to religion. Of course, like I believe in God and everything, but shit, do I think about drifting more than say the Bible? Yes, like stuff like that. It's undeniable that it has a positive effect in our lives and negative, but overall positive.
We follow the Drift Bible and Suchia.
No. We're now Kiss.
Oh yeah. We're a subsect.
So you have like the FD, the Formula DS. It's
Oh
cool.
my god, dude!
It's here's like another thing I read somewhere in that, or it might have been a YouTube video, but humans as a society, like we tend to hate on people that are very similar to us but very different in a fundamental way, more so than we hate completely different cultures. For example,
Interesting. Like we're not like, oh, man, fuck grip racers. We're like, oh,
yeah,
cool.
We're
like
cool.
We're like,
yeah.
Oh, if you just like, if you like understand it, but like don't fully understand it, like, fuck you, bro.
Yeah, we're hating on people that are closest to us, but not exactly what we're into, right? It's weird. It's a weird trait. It's a weird societal trait.
Okay.
It's a difference between, say, Mormons and, I don't know, evangelists versus like Catholicism or just like center Christianity. It's we hate each other more than, say, fucking Islam people, like Muslim people, Jews.
Yeah, they're not like, oh, I hate Buddhists, and you're like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like, well, you misinterpreted the book.
You read the book. You read the book, but you don't interpret it the way we like to do it. It's weird. It's a weird societal trait that we hate on people very close to us, except they're not exactly like us. It's weird, right?
Very interesting.
I think about this stuff all day at work.
I will ponder this later. That's a very, very interesting comparison.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, yeah, it's very like we're very tribal.
Very tribal, but we're humans, and on top of that, we're dudes. So you add testosterone, money, dangerous cars, and like bravado. Yeah. It's the story of human history, really.
Fucking alpha shit over here, dude.
Yeah, So another parallel with, say, Muay Thai and kickboxing. There's traditional Muay Thai kickboxing where it's elbows, knees, and everything. But in that sect, like there's one guy that's Michael Jordan above everybody else. There's his name's Sanchai. Okay, he's like the Naoki of like Muay Thai kickboxing. But he's a small dude, and he'll fight way bigger dudes that are 30 pounds heavier than him, Westerners, and he'll demolish them, flip them on their head, and knock them out. But he's a small 125-pound Thai dude. But he has a very light and jolly personality. He plays games with them. To me, like it's almost like very similar to Naoki is. He's almost like very playful. He is very light and very, I don't know. That parallel is nice.
He does wheelies on mopeds in the pits.
Yeah. He does cartwheels, kicks. It's very creative. He's very creative but very, very efficient and the type of fighting that he does. So but people hate on him. People hate like Dutch kickboxers. Like people will hate on him. It's cool. It's cool to see like similarities between different disciplines.
Interesting. Yeah, I was always trying to find like the comparison of like different styles of like skateboarding and
Yeah.
like how they, but like I don't know the subculture as well enough. And like
Who's like a really really good like skateboarder, but he's basically his stats are just like tens and like 11s across the board, but people hate on him. Like, who would that be?
fuck, I don't know. I don't think I think
Like a street skater? I don't know. Nija? Is Nija
I
or
mean
is he
I don't
mainstream?
think anyone's hating on him.
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
I feel like skater like people don't really like hate. I guess like there's like different like styles of skateboarding that people might
Okay.
hate on, but like I think everyone kind of like respects it because like I don't know, like the only example I have that's like a very like different style would be like the GX 1000 dudes from like San Francisco, where like all they do is like, I mean, they still can fucking skate, but they just like bomb hills throughout the city like all the time, and
Uh-huh.
just like do this like these like super gnarly like hill bombs like as like a group like a gang of dudes just like all mobbing these hills, and it's like that's like a that's like a different style of skateboarding, but it's like kind of almost like the original style of skateboarding because
Okay. Like the Lost, like
yeah,
Z Town and Lost. Oh, sorry, I'm butchering this. Z
Dogtown and
Boys.
Z
Dog.
Boys is the name
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
movie.
Okay, yeah. It's those guys. Just very pure, like concrete surfer type skating.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like they're more like I don't know. It's kind of like this like they're like pure just like skateboard with your friends and like go down big hills and like do dangerous stuff and like hang out. I don't know. It's like they're not trying to be. They still make videos and they put out like merch and shit, but
Oh,
it's not like they're not trying to get like corporate sponsorships or anything like that.
that's
I don't
cool.
know.
Well, it's cool because it's sustainable and doesn't cost much money to do. And the very fundamental thing, you're not going through tires, you're not breaking transmissions, you're not blowing motors. It's very, on a very pure sense, it doesn't cost much to do. That's the reality of it. But just the fact that you're getting better at that specific thing, um, it's kind of undeniable because the talent to do what they're doing, it just looks cool. Like, oh, that takes a lot of skill. Like if you're if you can appreciate stuff like that people make look that might make look easy because you can appreciate the effort and time and the uh and heart put into something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to watch this surfing documentary, Paradigm Lost, with
Okay.
Kai Lenny. It's really good.
Okay.
It opened my mind into, oh damn, this guy, he was young, but he's still relatively young compared to the other like legends of his sport. But he got
Hmm.
so good at paddleboarding, windsurfing, just all these different kinds of like surfing. But then the traditional surfer dudes were hating on him because he was doing all this other extra stuff that wasn't cool. But he got so much better than everybody because he was doing that stuff.
Yeah, it's
So
like this like roundabout way of like training. It's pretty cool.
yeah,
I I are you like every time I watch okay, so I went and saw like Free Solo and I was like, that guy's
yeah,
crazy. But like literally I was so hyped to go drifting after I watched that. I wasn't like, I want to go climb a
right.
mountain. I was like, oh god, that guy's crazy. I want to go drifting. Like I want to go I just want to not give a fuck and go drifting. Like I don't know. It's like this that's like all I could think about the whole time I was watching it is
When
like
you watch it,
we are
yeah,
capable of so much. Like I want to go push myself.
yeah. I'm. It's funny that you can read or watch or hear about stuff, like people that are like pushing the boundaries in whatever craft that they're doing, but you can internalize that and be like, yes, I totally understand the struggles that they're going through, the mental blockage, the loss of motivation. That's
Yeah.
a very equal thing across all sports, I guess. You can appreciate when someone transcends that and when someone overcomes that boundary.
Speaking of
Books.
which,
Uh huh.
what was it? What was it like? What was it like coming back after your like 2-year vacation?
Yeah. Well, it I quit drifting, and again, like I fought kickboxing. I think I fought I fought 3 times. Um, from the get go, when you start winning and stuff, of course, like your body's bruised up, you're like hobbling at work, and yeah, I was just like, this sucks. Like I can't do this. Like I can't pursue this professionally and stuff. Just the fact that the next level was to like go fight a pro fight, or the progression. I'm like, that doesn't look that appealing to me. Um, that was one part of it. But going back in, 2012 to 2014, it wasn't. Not a lot of things happened between those things, so I didn't feel like I missed a lot as far as drifting goes. But just the fact that I know what my life and my soul felt like without drifting in my life, it kind of reinvigorated me. It gave me a second wind to pursue it even further now. Just because
Interesting.
knowing what you have now, and like it makes you appreciate what you have now because you know what life is like without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, I guess things were pretty good.
It was cool. Like at the same time though, it's I don't know, like maybe taking a step back from something that you love to do is it's a necessary thing to progress and further like break through that barrier that you might be witnessing. One definition of insanity is to bash your head against a wall repeatedly and expect different results. Do the same thing over and over again. Maybe take a step back and try it a different way. And those 2 years off, it really made me appreciate drifting more now, just because I know what life feels like without it, and it's less colorful. It's less full. There's something
Yeah.
missing.
I'm definitely taking a little break for the next like um I don't know. I said I'm not gonna drift until I pay off my credit card, but I checked my credit card bill and I was like, oh, it's gonna be a bit. I don't know, maybe I'll get one in, you know?
I mean, breaks are necessary part of drifting. But one thing I've noticed, and I'm sure you can understand this too, drifting makes less sense the more space you take from it. Like if you step back away from it, the more you don't do it, the less sense it
Oh
makes
yeah.
to do. I'm like, my finances are great, everything's going great, I'm fit, I'm mentally and physically healthy. At the cost, all I have to not do is to not drive. But
And you're like,
there's something
nah,
missing.
fuck that.
Relapse.
Yeah.
No, it's
Fucking Drifters Anonymous.
yeah. It's a real thing to get burnt out. I talk to my friends about getting burnt out driving. I tell my friends like I don't know why, but it was kind of shameful to admit that you're getting burnt out in driving for a little bit. Like it's amongst your peers. It's almost like people can question your resolve and why you love it, but no, it's a real thing.
I went like extra hard right before I knew I was gonna be taking a break, which was like the trip to Washington. And we
Yeah.
did 2 events and then we drove to Spirit Peaks that weekend. So it was like 3 events in a week. And
Yeah.
then we went and drove like another private day in Aaron's S14, like all within about a week. So like 4 events in a week. And I was like, okay,
Sick.
I think I think I'm gonna be okay taking a break, even if it's
Yeah.
kind of long. I don't know. So I think the hard part for me is it takes me like a bit to get back into the rhythm if I take like too long of a break.
Uh-huh.
Um, because I'm like a repetition person. Like
For sure.
I have to do reps to get comfortable and then push.
Speaking of breaks, can I open my window? I'm fucking dying in here. I'm
Sure,
sweating.
dude.
I didn't
Yeah,
realize how physical I was and sweating
yeah,
I am. Like
absolutely.
just talking. Hold on.
Of course. I'll be back too.
No, dude. So it feels like going. Oh, it's funny that it feels like I've been saving up all the hours that would have been spent talking to my coworkers about drifting and driving for this.
I
I'm
mean,
getting it out.
I love the I love the philosophy that you've really like thought about the philosophy of drifting, like, and some of the like, I don't know, cultural like phenomenons and stuff. It's like very, very fucking interesting.
Thanks, man. Um, it goes back to the thing where like the deeper you uh can learn about something, the more you can appreciate it. You know, the deeper your love will
Yeah,
be for it,
interesting.
the more you can learn about it. I don't know. I've always liked the philosophy side and the culture side of whatever it is, whether it's a kickboxing. Um, I don't fucking surf, but I watch so many surf videos and jujitsu videos. I like it.
It is like drifting's such a weird psychological like thing. What draws what draws us to this like so there's just like this huge strong like draw from somewhere like inside us where we're just like this is it, like this is fucking it, this is the only thing I want to do.
Actually, my girlfriend, like, I love her so much, but she was like telling me, "He's like, well, why don't you just pretend like you just got done driving? What's the I'm like, because way different. You're a way different person from where you haven't driven in a while versus right after a drift event. Completely different. And surfers are the same way.
Yeah,
Skaters the same way. Fighters the same way. I gotta fight. Give me a fight. Like on
yeah,
top of the money, like they want to get the aggression and the poison out. It's hard to it's like
yeah.
it makes sense. Just be in the mindset. You just got done with a drift event, but I'm like, you can't.
Now we're talking, we're getting to the depths of this.
you know, mind fuck
Yeah,
yourself and that you just got done driving. But no, it's the high that you get from having a good drift event, right? It's hard to compare it with with anything else, really. It's
you know what's really interesting is I've gotten to the point where I know if I've gotten what I need out of an event or
mm,
not. Like
mm,
I'll go and I'll do something and I'll get like that adrenaline boost,
yeah,
and like I know that like that event was worth it. And
yeah,
like anything beyond that is like a bonus.
yeah, right, right. And
But
that's a very
the ones where you go and you don't get that.
yeah, yeah. The highs and lows are way deeper. The further you get into the understanding of drifting, like
Yeah.
if you if you go into a drift event or a drift day um, with one thing or two things that you want to improve on, and you get those, it's sick because it feels like you leveled up your whole game, right? But if you don't, but you get like good runs with your friends and everything, you still feel like kind of a failure because you didn't accomplish what you went out to work on, whether it be uh, clutchless feints, like aiming for the wall, like door to door tamming, whatever. If you don't get what you went in there for, it's not as sweet as if you do. You know
Mm. I only have one goal these days.
what's that?
It's drive as close as possible drive as close as possible to my friends without damaging their cars.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
it's showing. It's definitely showing, Palmer. It's I know in the earlier podcast you said that like you were kind of insecure that your chase game, but it's way good now. It's way good.
yeah, it was like some small car setup things, but it was mainly just driving.
Mm.
It was just like I was holding back.
Yeah, you're setting barriers for yourself, right? And we all do, you know. I have a fucking FD. I don't want to fuck up my FD. I'll go, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
go out and say it. I don't want to fuck up my car. It's my dream car. I don't want to fuck it up, but I have to in order to like go up to that
Progress.
level. I have to be willing to risk it. It's a very fundamental truth, but we struggle with it.
There's something about that, isn't there?
hmm
Like I put so much time into this thing. I love it.
Yeah,
It's like this is like part of my identity. I need this to be whole.
yeah,
I'm gonna go out and just like I don't know. I was talking to somebody where I was like, I feel like we all have like OCD or something where
Dude,
this is
ask
like
my
our
girlfriend. OCD is like through the roof with me.
right.
Just
So it's
gets
like
it out. Yeah.
drifting is like this thing where it's like you like take this thing that you like really care about and
Yeah.
then you go like destroy it and it's like this
Yeah.
like cathartic like release
Release.
of your like needing to work like I don't know.
No, no, I get it. I get
I
it.
used to get really like worried about shit before drifting. It's like, what if I don't have all the right stuff and this and that and I
Mm,
need this and I need to like, and then you kind of
mhm.
just like it's like this like breakthrough for you in like drifting and then also like regular life
Yeah,
too,
it
where you're
transcends it. It makes everything better. It makes your
yeah,
life better.
you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about anything. Like,
All the anxiety and OCD, all the worrying, it goes away. It goes away
yeah,
for a day or two.
yeah,
And with good pictures and video media, it might go away for 3 weeks. It might
yeah. You're just
that can
like
last.
glued to social media, like, ooh, oh, that video is sick. Like,
Yeah, it's that in a lot of ways. That's why social media helps. You can relive your progression and appreciate it. And can play it over and over again. I watch my runs. Oh, watching tape. I watch like my in cars like the last couple of years. I'm like, damn, I can. That's room for improvement there.
it makes so much difference.
It's
It
nice.
it makes so much difference. I was watching the stuff from Washington and like outside the
Hmm.
car, it looks like,
Hmm.
the driving
Yeah,
I was pretty happy with it, like,
right,
seeing all those exterior clips, and then I watched all the in-car, and I was just ripping myself apart.
right.
Yeah, I was
Isn't that
like, "No,"
funny?
I was like, "Why'd I e-brake there? What am I doing?"
Yeah,
Like,
that's it's that artist dilemma. It's almost like uh we're really hypercritical of ourselves because we want to get better in what we do. We're
yeah,
hypercritical, and we're comparing ourselves to icons. Like
right.
I want to drive like Toshi. I want to drive like Noki. But that's the push. That's what keeps us going. That's what makes us tick, like the people like us. But like that's a one differentiator too, is in-car video. Unedited in-car video is the differentiator between good driving and social media cloud
Yeah,
chasers, right?
absolutely.
Shirts tucked in, Casey, raw 15-minute clips of getting better and better and better.
Yeah. I love watching
Amazing.
those.
I love watching. I watch his stuff too before I go driving. So I wish people posted more like in-car videos, just because you can.
I have a gang of it. I have about a gang of raw in-car. I'm kinda scared to put it up.
Are you?
I'll put it up just for you.
How are
Yeah.
mine? How are mine? Are mine okay? Like mine are okay,
Yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, because you're always comparing yourself to the guys ahead of you, right? Yeah,
I'm so hard on myself
yeah,
with my driving and, like, I used to, like I think the nice part is I, like, took some of the energy that I used to be hard on myself about, like, car styling and, like, driving and I just put it all into driving, and I'm like, "I'll make the car look decent." Like, I know how to make cars look good, like,
yeah,
for the most part, Like,
yeah.
this one, I don't know, I just told myself, like, "Just go, like, destroy it. Just go, like just drive it and, like, make it look nice when you can." But, like, your main focus is, like, you're gonna get left by your team, like,
Mm,
if you don't, like, get on the course.
yeah.
Um,
I love that about you guys, by the way. There's a synergy in animal style, undeniable. You guys push each other, and that's a great way of building it up. And
yeah, when I made my
you
car
have to.
super fast, like, Julian's like, "Fuck," like,
That's cool.
and then, Jason's, like, making his car faster, and then Aaron's like, "Damn it, like, my car is really good, I don't wanna change it, but, like, you guys are too fast now," and, like,
That's awesome.
I don't know, it's just, like, a lot of, um and even, like, having younger people on the team, like Sam and
Oh yeah, he's getting good super quick too. It's
well,
nice.
and it's like, you got these, like, young guns, like, coming for you, Like,
I
you, like,
love it.
can't have 'em be taking my spot,
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. No, it's dope because you know what? It's like whether you want to admit it or not, there's a hierarchy. We all have an internal ranking system. We all know
I hate
who's at this
that.
level.
I hate that you said that. It's so true.
in your own team or in drifting in general. So you can tell it's like there's this level, there's this line. You can tell people that are above you and below you. You
Yeah,
can
well,
tell.
the bad part
You
is
know,
there's a lot of very good drivers on my team.
we're yeah,
I know where I stand.
but you guys are in like the upper echelon. You know that.
Yeah,
But that's cool. It's
small fish, big pond.
it's cool, man. I mean, as men, like you kind of have to have that. Kickboxing and Muay Thai have the same way. They have like the elite circles and people that are the cream of the crop. Jiu-jitsu for sure. I don't even roll. I don't even do jiu-jitsu, but there's do you know anything about jiu-jitsu at all? It's
Hmm.
okay, cool. Danaher Death Squad, the Gordon Ryan, all those guys, the upper echelon dudes. I watched their videos, and you can see that there's a circle. They're the equivalent of animal style in jiu-jitsu, in my opinion. You
Interesting.
know, it's
Okay.
they feed off each other and they make each other better, and then they just
I'm
destroy everybody.
I'm humbled by that comparison.
No, yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Uh,
Hi.
yeah, yeah. I don't know, yeah, there was I remember there was, like, a point where, so, like, Austin was, like, wanting to be on the team for quite some time, and then he
Okay.
was, like, on the team, and there was some complications. I'm not really gonna get into all that, but, like,
Team Wonder Austin. He's my boy too. I love
yeah.
that dude. Yeah, yeah.
Um, I was talking to Al,
Uh huh.
and he's like, uh, "This'll be good." I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Yeah, because he's gonna push the shit out of us. We can't have him, like, stomping all over us." And I was like,
Yeah,
"Alright, alright."
yeah.
I was like, I didn't put that, like, spin on it in my head. I
Mhm.
was like, "Man, this kid's good," you know? And he's
Yeah.
gonna, like, yeah, I was like, "Man, I don't wanna be, like, knocked back down to the bottom of the totem pole again," you know? Like,
It's a rankings. You already have a ranking system in your head that you put yourself on.
I
Can't
don't know
might as
if
well not
I don't know
deny.
if everyone does it, but I definitely do. So,
Uh, I do too.
yeah.
But it helps. It helps you hungry. It
It's
keeps you hungry.
it's a little muddy right now.
Mm.
I think, like, there's a lot I I think it's the most even it's been for, like, the size of the team, if
Yeah.
that's like, it's the most, like, close that it's ever been,
Mm.
if that makes sense,
For
like,
sure.
skill-wise. And,
Right.
like,
Right.
everyone like you said, everyone has their stats where they're, like, better at this or better at that, and, like,
Right.
I know where my I know where my strengths are and my weaknesses are and stuff, but, like, yeah, I don't know, yeah, like, watching the crash style dudes, I'm like, "Fuck." Like, those kids rip. I'm like, I gotta, like, step it up, you know? Like, you can't I don't wanna I don't know. I don't ever want this to end, and I don't wanna stop drifting,
Yeah.
this is a part of me, it's my life, you know?
Right.
I'm sure you can relate.
For sure. Same. I totally picking up what you're putting down. Um.
You it's like, you don't wanna go out, you know, just, like, I don't know, I don't wanna go out, like, ta I don't wanna go out without, like, reaching, like, at least, like, the same tier as, like, the people that I not tier, but, like, the same, like, realm as the people that I look up to, and that was,
Mm.
like, the biggest thing behind my push was, like, I felt like I was always chasing,
Mhm.
for lack of a better fucking term, because it
Mhm.
doesn't really make sense, but I was always, like, chasing that their skill level, and I was, like,
Mm.
down here, and I was like, "I just wanna be, like, on that in that same realm at so that I can, you know, feel like I belong, I guess," and feel like I've, like, actually gotten there,
Yeah.
and
It's an equal part like cocktail of like imposter syndrome, but
oh,
also
yeah.
fuel, but also like a pushing yourself. Um, I think for like overachievers like us and people that are into weird, crazy, extreme sport shit, that's that are trying to harness like chaos, and for the bystander, they don't know what the fuck's going on with their car, but we see the nuances. That's a common thread in like surfing, skating,
Yeah,
fighting, jujitsu,
interesting.
racing, drifting. It's a common thread. Um, but for me, understanding what's going on mentally there, it's adding another depth of appreciation for the sport. Just because I'm like,
Mm,
oh, okay, like, um, the last drift event I did was I was doing those cool chucks and entries, but I was getting left in the dust by Leon when we were tandeming because his car is super fucking fast. It's
Mhm.
made for grassroots and comp style driving, and it didn't feel good, you know. is I'm like, is that what I built my car to? No, but that's the cost of me not building my car that way. Is getting
Yeah.
left by mechanical grip and shitloads of smoke. There's a cost for everything. Again, stats, dude. Like, um, and cool thing what you said about earlier, you took all the I don't know. This is gonna sound super nerdy, but like the credits and the XP and the stuff that you could have spent on from like aesthetics of your car or making it look cool and put it all into driving. Fuck what you're like, whatever happens aesthetically, who cares? But you put all that into the driving skill tree. You are where you are now. Like you leveled up. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm like, all right, now I can fucking paint it. Like, I'm taking a break. I'm like, I'll clean my car up, I guess.
Looking back on it though, don't you feel like you're in the same realm as your team now? Because I feel like you are.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a compliment. And the fact that it's
Yeah.
muddy, like your skill levels are muddy right now, means you guys are all like relatively equal in
And that's
compliments.
like that's the best part is we're all really pushing each other. Like,
Yeah.
because it is close and it's like people are kind of just like, yeah, well, fucking all right, I'm gonna try this, It's like it's good. It's like really exciting. It's exciting
Mhm.
times. That's why I'm like, oh, I don't want to take a break right now because I'm like pushing and everyone's pushing and it's just like,
It was really hard for me to take a break after this last drift event, just because it, same thought pattern too. But I'm like, fuck, it just makes sense. I want to buy a house. Our lease is up in September. I'm like, it's gonna be for the greater good. But damn, once I'm situated, once I'm moved, I'm buying it
yeah,
clothes. I'm buying an enclosed trailer. We're off to the races, baby.
I love it.
So I'm thinking of doing comps. Dumb shit.
Yeah, I mean,
um,
like, I don't know. The I was talking to Julian about this actually, and he was like, so I was telling him like, yeah, I gotta take a break for a bit, like just to gotta catch up with money and life, and you know, uh, and he was like, sometimes breaks are good. It's like sometimes you come back and you're like refreshed and you like have more perspective on what you're doing, and you're while you're not driving, you're getting hungry to drive, and you're like watching other people and kind of like you're a lot more like analytical. And it's not exactly what he said verbatim, but he was just saying like breaks are good. Sometimes you come back stronger from that.
it's it drifting makes less sense the further way you step back at it, but at the same time, it gives you perspective on why maybe you're unhappy in certain parts of it, but also how you can find problems to those too. So
Yeah.
breaks are good. I don't want to like be a proponent of like quitting though, just because
No.
I don't know why, but like this I don't know how to say this without coming off douchey. I find that I have less in common with people outside of drifting than I am with people inside of drifting. And once they stop drifting, it's almost like they left the church.
Ooh.
they, it's great. They're, dude, pursue life. Life is very short. Have kids and like raise families. Pursue other venues, other forms of driving. But like, I just the ties that bind us. I've had to be witness to that to so many uh, drivers throughout the years.
That's really interesting.
The ties that bind.
Hey man, that's I have, yeah, I have a lot of friends that have quit drifting and I was friends with them through drifting, and
Uh-huh.
you're like,
Are you friends with them afterwards? Like, do you keep up?
I try to,
Okay,
but it's
it's
like
hard.
you don't really like have, you're not gonna like see them at events. It's like
Yeah,
you're not really like thinking about them as much. They're like doing whatever their other like replacement addiction hobby is,
yeah,
and it's not something you're into, and you're just like, you
yeah.
know.
No, I get it. It's a weird. That's not a problem. It's an unsolvable problem. But like, it's almost like I don't know. It's like
I'm
half
in
of a
the
breakup.
yeah. I'm in this for life, dude. I'm
Yeah,
yeah. This is like
that's the same thing we said about like skating though. At one point,
I didn't.
you didn't.
I
Oh,
wasn't
okay,
good.
cool.
I
Oh
wasn't that
yeah,
good.
I was
Court.
terrible, and I still said I'm going to skate forever. I was straight up delusional. So I don't know anymore. I'm a little bit older than
No, I
you,
mean,
but
like, I
yeah.
still roll around on, like, a skateboard, you know? Like,
Oh,
I
okay,
never, like
cool.
but I'm not, like I'm not trying to do anything other than
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know, maybe, who knows? Okay, if it's possible, I will continue to do this forever,
Hmm.
and even if it's not, I'm still gonna be around. Like, I
Yeah,
still, like I care too much about this, like, community, I care too much about, like, what this means, what drifting is, like, I don't know, some of my best friends I've made through this sport, like, how can you how can you turn a blind eye to that?
yeah. No, it's do what you got to do, man. Like I met some of the kindest, most wholesome people and most selfless people, but also some of the most selfish people through the sport. You know, you see all kinds of personalities, especially in motorsports. But yeah, it's a wild ride we're on. I like it though. I like it very much. What gives me hope too, to add to the everything we're talking about, is that we can do this for a long time. I know you've talked about like drifting in like combustible cars, like going out of style, but we can do this for a long time. One of the like I'm a big Joe Rogan like listener, but his immediate friends too. I take a lot of inspiration from. I'm reading Cam Hanes' book right now, Endure. Dude's 52 years old, fucking stud. He's like stud, bro. Like he runs ultra marathons. You know Cam Hanes?
Yeah,
Okay, he runs ultra marathons. He lifts
100-mile
dudes
marathons.
100-mile, 200-mile marathons. He runs a marathon every day. And you know what? For all of this, for bow hunting, that's his drifting. Like he
Yeah,
does all of this. He's formed a life for the sole purpose of being the best bow hunter that he can be, and it's inspirational. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I don't necessarily have to be driving all the time, but just the fact that I'm like working towards improving my driving the next time I go out, maybe that's one way of looking at it. Fucking put
yeah,
hours in the sim. That's another thing too. Saving money, like next time you're exponentially better and faster. You know. So,
yeah, and it doesn't hurt as much when you go
yeah,
driving.
yeah.
Yeah, just not don't be ripping people off to go to the track and
No. Yeah,
all
that's
that
the thing.
stuff. Those
Yeah, that's another thing I found. Longevity is to do good business.
yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I don't. I've never. I'm a salesman. I guess fucking sell cars for a living. That's like one thing you never do. You don't poison the pond that you fish in. It's I've I'm not the cheapest option when I sell stuff, but I'm worth it. You'll get your shit, and it's as advertised. So that's my experience as far as one of the key factors of longevity in the sport is just like don't burn bridges and don't like rip people off. you know um
It goes a long way.
yeah,
It goes a long way. Yeah, you see, I mean, yeah, longevity. Like, there's people who just they don't get to do it on the level in which that like I don't know how to explain it. It's like there's like there's like those people that are just kind of like the swindler types that are like, oh, if I just do
yeah,
this, like I'll make the next event, this and that. Okay, like I
yeah,
got this from this person and that. Like I gotta
yeah,
like
hustle baby.
Ponzi, fucking fucking Ponzi scheme drifters. Like
Right, but they don't last. Like the
no,
commute, like drifting has a way of weeding those dudes out, and you don't really hear from them anymore. you know
yeah,
it's nice.
it's usually like 5 years.
Yeah, sub 5 years. So it's like, oh, okay, he's burning bridges like left and right. I don't know. It's not healthy, man.
Yeah,
But I love I love the progress. As long as I'm progressing, um, I think I'm gonna keep drifting. That's as simple as that. As long
I
as
like that.
you
That's a good
progress,
outlook.
yeah. As long as you progress, I'm gonna keep doing it. It's simple, You don't have
Yeah.
to, you know. For you, how has your progression curve been? Because for me, I've like had plateaus. The plateaus are fucking painfully long. Painfully long. But when you
Yeah.
level up and you reach the next level, it's so rewarding. It's like those mini upticks. It's like that's what I live for.
I think I just hit a level up at the last, like at the Evergreen days.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Tight.
Just
Chasing?
like, yeah, and consistency.
Oh, nice.
That's been
Okay.
a big one for me. Like my consistency meter or my consistency like stat
Bar? Yeah, yeah.
has been low. And I think
Oh.
this is gonna sound crazy, but it's more of like a mental health thing than it is a driving skill thing.
Mm.
So like I depending on how h- depending on where I'm at is how consistent I am. And
Oh,
I've been spending like a lot of time on like mental health and like trying to kind of like take care of some things that have been like plaguing me.
yeah.
And I think like over I don't know, over the last like 6 months to a year, like I I'm less I'm less in my head at events,
Mm.
and that's given me much better consistency. And also like I've been taking care of I've been like going to the gym and trying to
Nice.
take care of my physical health too, which impacts your mental health and like,
Yeah.
you don't like burn out as easily and stuff. So it's like I think I hit a new level of consistency in the last like 6 months, which is like something that I've really struggled with.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and that's like it feels great. Like I hope I
That's
can keep
awesome,
it.
dude.
I hope
Oh
I can
yeah.
keep it going. But
Yeah. I don't want to delve into your personal life at all, but noticing like stuff that's not good for you or toxic, it's a very rewarding thing. It's almost like here's your stats meter again. You realize you're actually being like carried down by that factor. We had no
yeah,
idea, you know. Personally, like I got divorced. I was with my ex. So that was the reason why I moved down to NorCal in 2010, and I was down there from 2010 all the way to 2019. I got divorced from my ex-wife in 2019, um, and drifting was pretty much like the out like a my avenue for like releasing my angst and all that stuff, but it was
mm,
still a very unhealthy normal day-to-day life in my head, you know. And
yeah.
the and when I moved back up to Washington, I love my current girlfriend right now. She's a great fit. It's honestly helped improve my driving. Because like when I
That's
get home,
cool.
I know it's cool because like when you get home, everything's cool. Home is a safe place, you know. Whereas before it wasn't as like as comfortable.
I see. I see.
So it's a ripple effect almost.
And like how this is as a recently single person myself.
Mm,
Uh,
congrats. Here we go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I am interested to see like what it's like going into the like dating pool with this like crazy community that I'm a part of,
Mm,
right? Like
okay.
what is that going to mean? And like obviously this is something that's like super important to me, and is that going to like affect like the people that I meet, or they it's like a serious it's really interesting like how important the like understanding of this community and like maybe even like having the like ability to understand like the subculture and like the hierarchy and like all other stuff is like because
Yeah.
if you're like, oh, I have a podcast and I fucking like I'm just like, oh man, it's gonna be like so corny almost, but
I don't like to give out unsolicited advice. But
hit
in
me.
my experience, I compartmentalize. Um, when it's girl time, when you're with your girl. For me, I have nothing to do with cars. Zero,
Okay.
zero, man. I've never dated inside the carpet community.
That's probably smart.
Yeah, it's cool. It protects you from like it can backfire super easy. We've
Yeah.
seen it multiple times. Like dating and cars and pleasure and business, everything overlaps. Maybe you could use some separation,
Yeah,
you
the
know?
people that are like drifting for business, drifting
Mm.
for escape, and drifting and dating people within drifting. I'm like,
I don't know how to do it, dude.
that's a recipe for disaster right there.
Fucking dancing and like dynamite, like a fucking fireworks and shit, you know? And to me, it's just like it's not going to end well. There's no way.
Nah,
I
dude.
mean, it can work out great. It could work out great, you know?
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Maybe I don't really know that much about it, but Chelsea Denofa and his wife, he's winning FD events and they're very supportive of each other.
Yeah,
But
Chelsea and Chelsea.
yeah, Chelsea and Chelsea, like they're the exception to the rule versus what usually happens. You know, if you date within the car community, it doesn't end well typically, from what I've seen. So compartmentalize. It's a safe bet for me, but I don't know. Like, congrats on newly being single.
Thank
Like,
you.
enjoy. But going back to your initial thing is, I work on your own stock. You know, like you can't really control what the world's gonna do. You can't really control what like the dating pool's gonna do. But if you work on yourself, you know, you'll just level yourself up. Treat yourself like a car. Treat it like drifting. You know,
Mm,
you know if you go into the dating pool and you feel like you're lacking in some aspects, maybe you can work on it. Get swole, do some TRT. Swole Palmer.
yeah,
I'm
dude.
sensing.
Dude, big gains.
I don't know. Maybe that's a solution. I don't know, man. But
Get into fighting. I'm just kidding. I don't
that's
know.
cool, dude. I would wholeheartedly. I don't know what your body's like, but get into combat arts. Boxing's great.
Mm.
Um, shit, running. But where you're at, it's a huge jiu-jitsu hub. If I was into rolling, I'd pick that up. Maybe something supplemental
I've
into
actually
driving.
thought about it. I've heard like a
Yeah,
lot of good things. So
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know, man.
maybe. I don't know. I'm like I get like really addicted to shit, but
Yeah, me too.
nothing's like as exciting as drifting. I'd probably just be
Yeah.
like,
Um, find someone that doesn't necessarily support what you're doing, but doesn't get in the way of it. You know, financially, time wise. My girlfriend knows that. I mean, we're both very financially like smart and independent, but she knows that when I'm buying shit, I'm buying it. you, you know, she doesn't get in the way of like my happiness. It's tight. It's a good healthy relationship I'm in right now, and it's reflecting my driving. You know, huge ripple effect. It's nice.
yeah,
You can score, and I don't know much about it, but baby Jason and his wife, she seems super supportive as far as his like progression in driving is. So
yeah,
that's an avenue to take as well. You know, if you can get lucky that way.
yeah. There's definitely levels to the support.
I've always worked best when I'm by myself. You know, like when I compartmentalize and when I'm doing what I want to do. Like that's my optimum. Uh,
I've begun to like really enjoy like solo towing my car places.
mm,
I used to hate it. I'd be like, I need people in the car. Like, I'd be like, oh, you guys have people going with you? And I was just like, can like, does anyone want to? I would like, but I would be like too weird to like ask my friends if they want to go, kind of thing.
really?
You know? Yeah, I would just be like, eh. Like sometimes I'd be like, I don't know if I want to go to that event. Like, no one wants to go with me. And like now I'm just like, I can't wait to just like go get my car and like solo tow to like I don't even fucking care where.
Um, one of the sweetest feelings is driving home from Thunderhill after like a long drift event, and you're cruising down the I-5, and there's like a constant bang, but there's like the sunset, and it's like the sun setting. I'm like, I'm living in a fucking cruising USA video game right now. You know, just like blasting, like listening to Rogan, like on my way home. Like that was a sick event. Yeah. Solo time is good, man. It's a it can help you recharge. It does for me. You know, being around people like drains me, and being alone kind of recharges me. But that's the type of personality I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely more like extroverted, but I think COVID kind of like fucked that up. I think I'm like I think COVID made me like a little bit more introverted than I used to
Oh,
be.
really? No,
Yeah.
people have like weird expectations of me and my personality, but I'm a lot more introverted than people think. I don't go out and hang out with car people. I don't go to meets. I go drift events only. I don't really cruise with people. It might be fun, but I don't know. I've never been to it.
Yeah, you're there for the you're there for the art.
Yeah, yeah. I'm there for the progression. You know why I'm here.
Yeah.
No,
It's
man. Like, you're. Uh, I know you're probably hurting right now, but and it's easy to get lost in your own head, but you kind of have to take a step back. I know when I was going through my divorce, I was a wreck for about 3 to 6 months, but I kind of knew that the only real healthy and progress like a productive way out of it was to make lists and execute. So I'm a very like I like to set objectives and then execute them. Like make a list, take them out. Like that
Mhm,
worked for
mhm.
me. So set goals, like meet them, and yeah, you're gonna be good, dude. You'll be back.
Yeah. I've just been, like, doubling down on the podcast stuff, so hopefully
Yeah,
I'll now that I have, like I don't know, I've been kinda, like, I've been, like, a drift bum for the last, like, 2 months. I've been kinda, like, floating around and staying at friends' houses and stuff, and, like, now I got, like, kinda, like, established in, like, my new spot, so I'm like,
nice,
"Alright,
man.
I can I can podcast easily. I can I got time to work on this stuff," so I think
What you're
it'll
doing, it's meaningful. It means something. It's shaping our little subsect of drift culture in a very good way. I think you're talking to the right people. You're talking about the right stuff, whether you're bullshitting or going balls deep in technique. You're putting faces to names. It's nice. It's a really nice thing, and I feel like if you keep doing it, it'll be the equivalent of like it could be the equivalent of like JRE in the future as far as drifting goes.
I just I just think there's so many fucking interesting people in this sport because,
Mm,
like, we're all I don't know, we just there's like a commonality of weirdness, but,
yeah,
like, it's, like, very I don't know, it's all very, like, different. I don't know, but the type of people that drifting draws in are very interesting, and I feel like the people that don't get to be documented need to be documented
yeah,
a little
man,
bit.
that's very cool. Yeah, you're putting shine and light to people that would otherwise have gotten like unnoticed, and they're driving stellar, especially the young kids that you've been talking to. It's sick. But it's also cool to talk to old heads like me, that you
Well,
can
yeah,
kind
I
of
mean, you pretty much,
with
like,
respect.
blew my mind with some drifting philosophy
I've been holding that
on
in
this
so
one.
long. I gotta tell somebody. I'm glad I got it out. No, it's dope. Yeah, man, I really enjoy progressing, and that's one thing about drifting I'll probably not ever get tired of. You'll get tired of fucking social media fakes. You get tired of whatever shitty calls and judging, blah blah blah. But if you boil it down to what you're in it for, I'm here to progress my driving. If
Yeah.
as long as I'm progressing, I'll be happy. Um, keep keep at it. But at the same time, if you're unhappy about the current state of drifting, maybe you can step back and see why you're unhappy about, and put a mirror to yourself, and what drifting means to you. It's definitely not the early 2000s slam culture that it is now. It could be, if you want to focus on that, go for it. But no, man, it's progress your driving. That's a big part of what makes me happy.
Yeah.
So wait,
Damn.
like who are your like idols? Because I don't really.
Hmm. So when I got I kinda had, like, a weird path with drifting. Like, I, like, found it when I was, like, 12 and, like, was, like, super into it. I was just, like, downloading stuff on, like, Kazaa, but I didn't know about, like, option video. I didn't know about, like, where all this stuff came from. It was just, like, little clips. It was, like, shit from, like, Slide Squad would get, like, uploaded, and it would be, like
Big.
there'd be, like, random, like, drift mixes and stuff that were, like, on Kazaa, and
Yeah.
I thought it was, like, the coolest thing ever, and then I got, like, distracted. Like, I was, like, partying a lot and kinda had, like I don't know, I had, like, a lot of freedom when I was a teenager, so I definitely found some trouble
Yeah, yeah,
here and there. But like, I had one friend that would like come over and he'd like play option videos, and I was like, it's cool, but like, it just watching things doesn't do it for me. Like, I don't
yeah.
really like. I like F1 and I like all the stuff that's going on, but I like sometimes I fall asleep during the races. You know, I,
I've never
I
watched an F1 race. I got into it through Netflix. I'm a casual.
which is fine. Like, it's fucking
Yeah,
cool. Like
yeah,
like
yeah.
they made it like way more interesting. If they made uh I think Lex was like talking about if they made a Drive to Survive for FD, it would be so fucking entertaining.
Super entertaining.
But anyway, let's let
That's
them
wishful
do that.
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody's got to do it.
they'll do it eventually. I mean, they
Right.
do, but everyone's got like their own YouTube thing, and it's just kind of like I don't know. It's not really the same.
Mhm.
Um,
You have to
but
dramatize. There's got to be drama. You have to dramatize it.
yeah, exactly. There's plenty.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you
yeah.
really know, do the like early days of like drifting when like the dude, I like yeah, never mind.
No, you can't.
I don't
That
know,
was a
like
tease. That was a tease, Palmer.
drivers were like banging like the fucking models and like
Yeah,
the umbrella girls and shit like
yeah,
like and all that like wild shit. Now it's like way less like that. I mean, I only know like a couple stories and I'm not gonna like name names or whatever, but
yeah.
uh
It adds culture. It adds culture to the sport,
yeah,
and you can appreciate it even more. I don't
yeah,
know.
good for them.
I know.
I'm sure they both enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah,
We're all fucking adults here, like
yeah, yeah. It's consensual too. So
yeah.
yeah.
Um doing it, doing drift, not doing it in that the sense of it. Like doing drift, doing drifting,
Uh-huh.
like actually me doing it, like opened up some shit in my brain and was like, okay, this is now everything. Like
Which drivers
being
like which driving and drivers like do you constantly look up to and chase apart from like your teammates? Like Naoki, or
I mean,
is there like E36 dudes?
eh,
The new kids for sure. You know.
yeah, not when I was starting out. There were
Yeah.
not even like when I got the car, there wasn't like I'm buying an E36 because of this driver. Like that wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh I mean, obviously like Fujio, Naoki,
Oh, okay.
all the burst people that was always like the mind blowing stuff. Like there's like
Mhm.
that Inertia MS video from like I think it's like 2011 or
Yeah. Yeah.
something where it's just like super vibey and Naoki's got the parachute pants on and it's just
The
like a
old
day at
MSC.
Mahon.
Yeah. The MSC like comps too. Those are
Oh
sick
yeah,
too.
those are sick. Like
It's just
just that like I don't want to say like I don't know. It just felt like it's raw. I'm trying to think of like who really I don't know. I had like kind of a weird. I was like late to the party, I guess. Like
mm,
I watched like Formula D on like G4 and stuff.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I when I was like a teenager, I actually went to like one of the first FD rounds at Sonoma because I found a flyer at like Virgin Records. They had like
Yeah.
flyers like stacked up, and I was like, "Oh, what's this?" Like me and my friend went. I think I was like I was probably 16. I think it was like '06 or whatever. Um, but like that was such a like cloudy version of drifting.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there was like El Caminos and like fucking
Bubba Joe. Yeah. Yeah.
R34s and
I
like
remember those dudes.
it
Yeah.
was just like what is it's like people just bringing like all kinds of random fucking cars and like drifting, like
Yeah.
there's like
It's
a
it's a very different thing nowadays, right? It's not the same thing. Like, and it's
yeah.
okay. Dab Sedan made a video like a couple years back that there's different genres of drifting, and you can appreciate all of it, but to be like completely denied that there aren't is just ignorant.
Oh
There's
yeah.
there is, there's different genres, and you can enjoy all of it. But I don't know, if you pick a genre and you get good at it and you push your driving, there's it's undeniable that it'll be cool, that your driving will be cool, and it just helps evolve the sport. It's a good thing for the sport, no matter what you do. FD, Japanese like style driving, whatever. Like, it's, as long as you try to do it as best as you can, it's the best thing for you, man.
I was gonna say I looked up to Julian, but I was like friends with him for like a year before I saw him drive.
Oh, really?
Because I met him when he was building the S14.
Oh,
And everyone
cool.
like talked about how good he was, and I was like, he would like, he would drive like a car here and there, and I think he like did a comp in like Al's car, but I wasn't watching because I was drunk, and like we became friends, and then when I like saw him drive the S14, I was like, oh wow, he's fucking, this is like what I want to drive like that.
Yeah. I
So
think like when I actually started following Julian is him and Kato. I don't know if
mhm,
you were there, but maybe Luke was out there. But they went to Stockton because we were doing like the club drift events there, and they
mhm.
started chucking. I'm like, ooh, they're doing something different. I don't really know what's they're doing different, but this is different. This is a different genre altogether. But they're good at it. They're gonna specialize in it. So that's when I started following that kind of driving.
I brought my A36 maybe to that day, the
Oh, you
day that I
did?
bought it. Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
I don't know, maybe that was earlier. I can't remember, but yeah, like I don't know, inspiration wise, like I didn't know the drivers enough. I didn't know like enough about it. I just knew that the whole concept of drifting was cool. I guess
Nice.
I was like still kind of like figuring out what parts of it I liked and like who
Oh,
was thing until like way later, and then that's when I was like burst. Like
yeah, yeah. I've always paid attention to like early 2000s bursts. I think if you like that kind of driving, and if it strikes a chord in you, it's that kind of that's the sect of the religion of drifting that you are.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, we're all gonna wear like purple and pink robes with like highlighter highlighter fucking Nikes when we drink the Kool-Aid,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
when we drink the punch.
I like it, man. Well, like, dude, he can drive. He can dress really normally, and his driving would still speak for himself. It's boil it down to what is the coolest and the coolest looking driving. Then that's the right way. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I'm definitely in the cult.
Yeah. One of us. One of us. Dude, fucking 3 hours?
Yep.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Time warp.
I thought you were going to like get tired of me after the first hour. I'm like, dude, this motherfucker is
Oh, that's good,
redundant.
man.
Oh, good, awesome.
Yeah, you killed it.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
I really appreciate you doing this. You're a legend in the community. You're a spectacle, a philosopher.
Thank you,
Uh,
man. No, it's let's just keep it going, keep pushing our driving, get better and get faster, get crazier, and yeah, man, it's good shit.
yeah,
I'm super happy to be a part of it.
yeah. Hopefully we can drive soon.
Yeah, sick.
Fuck yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys.